everybody. Today we are debating Flat Earth versus Globe Earth, and we are starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for another epic debate, as today we debate flat versus globe Earth, and very excited. We haven't done a tag team in a while, so it's a great opportunity. We have TeamSkeptic and Fight the Flat Earth, two of the bigger, you could say, challengers of the Flat Earth movement on YouTube, who are here and partnered together. It's like WWE, Kane, and The Undertaker, two superpowers partnered together. And we also have you could say, a very true tag team duo. For the first time, the Flat Earth Brothers are here with us tonight. We're very excited to have all four of these gentlemen. And if it's your first time here, want to say, hey, consider hitting that subscribe button, as we've got a lot more exciting debates coming up in case you want reminders. In fact, I don't know if I've told you guys, I'm excited about this, to say the least. We are pumped. We just booked it this week. Is that coming up in January, we're going to do this live and in person. It's going to be Inspiring Philosophy, Mike Jones against Matt Dillahunty, on whether or not there were good reasons to believe God exists. So that's going to be an epic one. And don't forget to hit that little notification bell if you do want those reminders of future debates. Now, we are stoked, folks. This is going to be basically a kind of flexible format, roughly 10 minutes, like fluid from each side, in terms of them making their case, followed by open discussion, as you usually seem to enjoy most. That's definitely, I really enjoy that open discussion portion, followed by Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to shoot those into the live chat. I will pull them out. We will ask those questions during the Q&A at the end. And if you happen to have a question or comment, what we do is we do have super chats in which your questions would go to the top of the list throughout the debate, and it also allows you to make a comment during the question and answer. So with that, stoked to have you here, folks. And with that, thank you guys, Flat Earth Brothers and TeamSkeptic and Fight, for being here tonight. We're honestly just thrilled to have you guys.
Thank you for having us back again. Last time I was here, I debated Wotan, and he was still angry at Team from when he debated him on your channel.
Yes, that was a juicy one.
Yeah, you wound him up or something, Team.
Oh yeah, him and Killer Whale, both of them.
Yes, that's true. Killer Whale, I don't know if he's coming back soon, but we are excited. This is going to be a fun one. And Flat Earth Brothers, thank you guys for being here. First time.
Yeah, thanks for having us. There are two of us. So, and I'm Michael, 7 minutes older. We're twins, and
I'm Josh, the 7 minutes younger. But I was conceived first. He was born first.
Yeah,
that's the trade-off.
That's special.
Yeah.
I like that.
You probably won't distinguish our voices, but yes, there are two of us.
How do we know there's just not one of you pretending to be two people?
You'll never know. Actually, we're Siamese now, but we were. He's the one who drugged me into this. Josh drugged me into this, and when he first came to me with the whole idea, I laughed at it at first, and I said, "This is the dumbest thing." And had it been anyone else telling me this, I probably would have just laughed it off. So it's kind of funny how you get to where you're at.
Absolutely, this is a special. It's a special one, and so with that. If the Flat Earth Brothers, if you guys want to would you guys like to go first? We're going to have you guys do your opening and then followed by Team and Fight. Or would you guys like it to be the opposite? I can't remember if we talked about this.
I don't care. I'll go first. They can go
when
first.
You say opening,
I'm happy for these guys to go first.
Presenting evidence or anything like that, or
you got it. All right.
Or just talking about who we are. What are we doing with the opening?
Opening, just you can, if you'd like to share about who you are, it's a flexible opening, so you can share a little bit about your background as well as your evidence for a flat Earth.
Okay, nice. All right, yeah. Well, we can go ahead and get started if that's cool with you guys.
You bet.
I first of all, I'd like to say thanks for having us. It is really a really blessing to be here, and I am super excited. I cannot tell you how strange it is to be here, because in a million years, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, hey, is the Earth a globe or is it flat, and I would say, why is that even a question? You guys are idiots. And I think my first reaction to this was, what kind of caveman idiot thinks we are on a flat Earth. It's just the dumbest possible. And I would never want to say I'm on that team. And well, here I am. And so how did we get here? And to me, it always goes back to what was the first proof for me? When did we, as you know, anybody in the world right now, when did we first believe the Earth was a globe? What was our first proof? Well, I don't know. I was really young and I just knew it was a globe because I saw pictures and people told me about it, and it was in every movie. It was just always there. And from infancy, and I can remember the planet models and all these things. And we just always trust that the people at the top, they are good people and they have no reason to lie to us. And by trial and error through human history, we've figured out all the truth and we just know it. And I think that's where most of us are. And I just felt like, man, those idiots in the past who believed we would sell off the edge of the earth were idiots. And luckily we don't believe that. We have proof. And this whole thing then of course comes crashing down when my brother tells me, hey man, you've got to look into this flat earth thing, because we've all grown up, him and I, believing that the Bible is true, but there's parts of it you almost need to throw out or take figuratively, because the general scientific community is absolutely opposed to a stationary fixed earth where the sun is revolving above our heads. That's totally not what we're being told by Neil deGrasse Tyson, by Bill Nye, by every scientific textbook out there, and it came to a point where I started questioning things, and I said, you know what? I've questioned 9/11. The only time in human history that steel buildings can just collapse to the ground, multiple steel buildings, not just the Twin Towers. And it's the only time they've ever done that. Or the moon landings. I always questioned that. And there were different things that I questioned, but I would have never thought to question this. And as I started looking for proof, I'm a math teacher. I deal with numbers all the time. And, my brother's a science teacher here. We're always talking about proving things and testing things. And it really scared me how much of what we know about the world is from a picture somebody showed us in a book, or from a video that we saw that was given to us by NASA or a government entity. And it's really funny to think that we're actually sitting here debating this, that somebody is going to try to prove to me that the earth is a globe. And the only reason that you're going to try to prove that to me is because neither me nor you have seen the globe with our eyes. Nobody out there in the world, except for 500 astronauts who claim that they've been out there, have seen the globe. We're taking it secondhand. We're getting it from a video or a picture, and people start sending up these high altitude balloons without a fisheye lens. And at 22 miles high, you would expect to see this grand ball, not just curvature. You'd expect to see part of the sphere revealing itself. And people without a fisheye lens noticed something was off, that you see this perfectly flat plane. And
I want to add to that real quick. What he's talking about with these balloon launches, I have watched thousands of rocket launches, thousands. And what's bothering me, and what bothers a lot of people, I'm even looking at the recent launch they just had, Boeing just had. Even the globe believers are angry with the footage we receive, because your average person sending up a balloon and getting 3 to 4 hours of footage, and you can't find uncut footage of a rocket launch from the external viewpoint, just like a balloon, like anybody could go and attach a camera to it. You won't see longer than a few minutes. They cut it off and it goes to animation. You can't find it. It doesn't exist. And I would like to see, and 2 hours would probably be okay with me. 3 hours, 4 hours, all the things that are possible, and we don't have them. And I watch all these rocket launches, and I guess the little kid in me it's like watching fireworks. You're going to get excited, even if you know the bottle rocket's going to come back down. It's exciting. And I really do wish to see that evidence. That's the evidence I think all of us want to see. It would put all this to rest if we could just have someone, maybe one of these balloon specialists, show NASA how to put a camera on a balloon, on a rocket that can record stuff. We have the technology. It's not like we destroyed it. That's technology we actually have now. So not sure why we don't have it, but I would like to see it in terms of presenting evidence. Now, if TeamSkeptic or anybody could present that, I would actually be interested in that. But I've never seen that, and I'm telling you, I've received rewards on Facebook for being one of NASA's biggest fans. I've watched that much footage. I mean, they send me all sorts of achievements from just watching hours of videos. And I'm getting to where I'm just ready to stop because all these new, what do you call them? Moon landings and things that they're having, they're animated. The India moon landing that nobody talked about, 100% animated when you watch it. I mean, all of it. And it's heartbreaking. It's got to be. And people just are getting bored with it. They're not watching it. It's lost that sort of mystique that it had back with the Apollo missions when they were doing a lot more video stuff. Even though it was projected onto a screen and we were watching it, they were at least giving us something, you know?
Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing for me, I think the hardest thing for me is there's so many things to tackle. When you hear flat Earth, the first thing you think is, how can we be the only flat planet? And then somebody says, oh, well, space isn't what they're telling us is. These aren't planets, they're lights in a firmament. And you have all these kind of webs to untangle in your mind. And there's so many things that make you want to throw it out and go, no, I can't believe this because, you can't fall off the edge, and because space, and there's all these becauses. And it's so much to take in. I think it scares a lot of people off. But I grew up believing that the Bible was true, that it was the word of God. And growing up, I had struggles with that. I had struggles in faith. And I'm one of those people who needs a lot of proof. And I'm always been a skeptic. And I think that's a lot of why we're here. People are skeptical. And I think in general, humans, we want to trust the higher ups. We want to trust the people that are handing down textbooks and information to us. And we want to assume they're good. But, reading the Bible, there's talks of this adversary who is a liar, who is a deceiver. And if he is real, if the Bible was true, and if the creation story is literally true, then yes, there is a deception going on. And yes, there is a force that's opposed to God. And, even not just the shape of the earth. To me, that's like, we're talking about what color is Santa Claus's robe here. Does it really freaking matter? We've never seen either one of them. We can argue about it. We can say, yeah, there's hundreds of proofs. And, I've seen hundreds of proofs that people have done throughout history that prove that the earth is flat, the Bedford level, and, the sight distance records that we keep getting, and all this footage that people can say, this is proof. But nobody cares because there's going to be information in another story that says, oh, well, there's proof that it's a globe too. And it's going to just go on and on until we actually really see it. But I think the biggest part that people get hung up on is saying, well, why would they lie? How could NASA lie? How could these people who we've trusted our entire lives, how can they be handing down misinformation to all of us? Somebody would find out, somebody would slip up. And what you find out is people have been slipping up. People have been coming out. There's a guy, Matt Powerland, who was he was a artist for NASA. And in their meetings, they basically lay it all out. He's with some of the higher ups and they tell him about the deception. And he thinks they're joking. He thinks they're making it all up, and here he is, a NASA artist. Hello, hint, hint.
Yeah.
He's
I
making
want to share something real quick on my screen. I don't know if a lot of people have seen this. Can you guys see my screen? Hold on, let me see. Let's give me options here. Google Chrome. There you go. Okay. Google Chrome. Share. This right here. Can you guys see my screen?
Moving it over right now.
Okay.
If you can give me just a few seconds. Okay. Thank you very much. All set?
You got there? All right. What you guys are about to see is our first time ever seeing the stars from space. This was from the U.S. Air Force, and this was before NASA, right before NASA started putting out the space information, before they created that specialized program. And I'm going to try to skip to the footage. If it'll work. Oh, let me play. That'll probably help. All right. First time we ever saw the stars. Oh, where'd it go? You went too far. I think I went to the wrong video. No, this might be it. Okay, I had it set to. Oh, I think I'm changing slides is what's happening. Let me just zoom out so I can do this. All right, I'm not sure why it's not working. I think when I hit the over button, it is changing slides is what's going on. Yeah, it is. All right. Let's see. I'll just do it from here. Okay. It'll work from here. There we go. These guys, this is Kittinger, Joe Kittinger, and he was a pretty bad dude. He went up really high in these balloons, these gondolas here, and gave us some footage that was spectacular. This is our first time seeing the stars, and here's the footage right here. Stars from space. First ever time we saw this, back before internet. Right there, I'll just kind of pause it so you can see it. But this is it. And before the internet, this was accepted as reality. And I was being sarcastic when I said this is real footage. You can see a star. It looks like a light bright set. This is the U.S. Air Force trying to pass this off back in the day. Yeah, and we always try to make excuses for them. You can see this footage for yourself, and you can see that it's obviously fake. I could make this in my basement right now. It's obviously fake, but we try to make excuses and say, well, they faked it because of the space race and because they needed to. They were trying to get funding and blah blah blah. But if you can admit that this is fake, then you have to start questioning why. You know, you have to start wondering. There's got to be something inside you that says, I cannot accept people who lie to me. And if they lie to me once, is it possible? Is there a possibility that they're lying about everything? And that's where we have a hard time is, you know, even myself would say, yeah, they lied about the moon landings when I started looking at it. Oh, but that was just to win the space race. And it's all about money. And that's the only reason. But I think it's kind of small-minded of us to not question the higher ups. Where's the information coming from? Can we trust these people? Is Neil deGrasse Tyson, is he really a scientist or is he a paid actor? You know, and are we getting hints of truth or is this stuff just all made up? You know, and you go back and start looking at experiments and why are we just now coming to this point? Did people try to test it and come to find out there are books that, what is the book? Zetetic Cosmology, 200 Proofs the Earth is Not a Globe. There were books, people going out and doing real experiments for centuries to prove that the Earth wasn't a globe in space. But then you have NASA coming in and showing us footage of them leaving Earth, and they have the Earth from a distance, and it's this globe, just like we've all been told. And oh my God, it silenced everybody because there it was in real time in a video of these people looking at the Earth from space, and we were just in awe of that. And those pictures ended up in textbooks. But we find footage later that they were just looking out a circular window and staging the Earth. Why would you need to stage that if you're really doing what you're saying you're doing? They were looking out of a high altitude craft window, and we all bought it, hook, line, and sinker. I did. Everyone did. 99% of the world's population was believing that stuff. And they don't always get caught. Not everybody's in on it. It's not one of those. They're all liars. Most people at NASA are great people. Most scientists are honest scientists. But here's the SDS missions that we all grew up watching, and they went on for a while, and they had launched tons of satellites back in the day. And here's one with a string attached to it. We shared this before. And every time you look at it, you can see, I don't know why I keep doing that. You can see the string attached to this thing. Watch it right here. A lot of people think that's a trash can. That's a satellite, not a trash can. And the string appears right there, just like in the old movies when they did those little camera tricks. And what's crazy to me is that I really did believe that we faked these things for the sake of the space race. But you look at Nikola, you look at the Tesla, and you look at the footage they're putting out where they put the Starman. Everybody was captivated by this car floating in space, right? We all saw it, and it was on live stream, and you can see this car and the curved Earth in the background. But during a live feed on CNN, it is revealed that behind that car that we're all expecting is in outer space is just some studio. And then their CGI is a few seconds late. And when it kicks on, there's that magic globe that we all love and know. There it is in the background. Well, why is this guy now in 2018, 2019, in this time, I don't know when was that Starman thing? Was that a couple of years ago? But why? He's not trying to win a space race. He shouldn't be in on anything. Why is he faking footage of Earth? Why are we still doing that? Haven't we come to a point where we can just go, here, America, here, world, here's the globe you live on? Why do we have to keep showing fake images of it? Why is NASA's only images of Earth? Why do continents change sizes from one globe to the next?
Just to let you guys know, we're at maybe about 12 minutes, going on 13 or so, I'm guessing. So if you have a couple more quick points.
You guys want to go ahead and introduce and share your points here?
You got it. And if you're able to, we'll switch back to the dialogue boxes. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for that opening statement. We will now move over to Fight the Flat Earth and TeamSkeptic. But I do want to mention, I am so thankful, you guys, for real, not only for, you guys, every part of this channel is like, thanks to you. Thanks to like the speakers, thanks to like the people in the audience. Like you guys make it so fun. And I'm so thankful also that MathPig and Tony Designs, as well as others, I think, they actually just created a Discord for us. We're really excited about this. I'm excited to get on Discord. I'm learning it myself. It's like brand new for me. And so I'm kind of like, oh, cool. I'm like, let me see what this is like. So if you are also excited to, a lot of people, like I know Larry, you guys have said like, hey, that would be awesome. Like, let's do Discord together. And so I'm like, sweet. We will hopefully see you there on Modern Day Debates new Discord. So hopefully we can party there. And with that, thanks for listening for a second. We are going to now switch over to Fight the Flat Earth and Team for their opening statement. Thanks, Flat Earth Brothers, for your opening statement. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
All right. So we're going to go from the Flat Earth Brothers to the Globe Earth Cousins. And let's do this. I do want to say that was a lot of information to take in. I do appreciate you presenting it. And I'm going to turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Fight the Flat Earth, and he's going to be doing our presenting for tonight. Fight?
Thank you. Yes, so I'm FTFE, otherwise known as Fight the Flat Earth, and I've been doing this for about a year. And I'm just going to straight up present evidence that there is curvature to the Earth, that we do rotate, and that gravity is a thing, because I think these things are easily verifiable to anyone. You don't have to be a brainiac to be able to prove these things to yourself pretty easily. So I'll start off with the fact that we know that there is curvature. It's easily detectable. So let me just get this up. This is some photos that were taken at a point in Spain somewhere, Faro Ganadia, looking at a point towards Denia. There was 2 photos taken, and the photos were 8 meters and 1 meters above the water, and they were looking out towards a certain rock. And if you look at the 2 photos, if you just look at the top of them, you can see that they are the same photo. But if you look at the full photo, it clearly shows that when you are closer to the ground, there is more of the rock obstructed. When you're 8 meters, you can see further. If the Earth's flat, there's absolutely no reason why raising 7 meters will bring about 40 meters of rock into view. That is only something that comports to the Earth being a globe. This is easily verifiable by anyone. It's not some kind of magic. Anyone can go to this point and take these photos. Other observations of actual curvature are, where's this one? Red's Rhetoric has gone out and get that. He went to Tampa Bay in Florida, near where he lives, and looked across the bay and took these images. You can see the tops of the buildings there, the bottoms being hidden. And then there was a photo taken from a lot closer up, showing you the actual size of the buildings and how much they are. And simple tests, blink tests, just put the 2 together. And you can quite clearly see that in the one where you're further away, there is a large portion of the buildings that are hidden by the water. There's no reason, either those buildings are underwater or there's a physical obstruction causing that. And again, that's just straight up evidence that there is curvature that you can actually observe yourself at sea level. Now, I want to talk about the fact that we can measure rotation quite easily. Everyone knows now the famous Bob clip, Bob Nadell with his fiber-optic gyroscope. The way fiber-optic gyroscopes work is that they use a constant, the speed of light, and based on the fact that we know the speed of light, we can physically measure rotation if the time that light takes to go around a certain path is changed. And that's what fiber optic gyroscopes are based on. It's called the Sagnac effect. And there is no other explanation for every single fiber optic gyroscope in the world picking up a 15 per hour drift, other than the fact that the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And the thing is, these gyroscopes don't just pick up that 15 degree per hour drift that's in 3 axes. They actually pick up the rotation around the sun as well, at about 1 degree per day. So it's just more evidence that we do, in fact, live on something that is both curved and rotating. Now, if the Earth is the size that we say it is, and it's rotating at the speed that we say it is, then there are certain things that we should expect to happen. One of the things that we should expect to happen is that if there is a swinging pendulum on this rotating Earth, then we should be able to see certain effects in that pendulum. If the pendulum is swinging and it is on the North Pole, a pendulum will drift 15 degrees per hour. And the closer you get towards the equator, the less the drift will be. And there is a guy called the Gentleman Physicist who tested to see if this is the case. And in his in a local high-rise building of his, he set up a pendulum that he made himself, so no magnets or anything keeping it going. And he let it swing for as long as it could. It was about 45 minutes. And what he saw was that over the time that it was there, the angle of the pendulum swinging started to drift. So I think it was about 45 minutes, and they let it drift, and they measured the angle, and they were actually able to accurately calculate their latitude on the globe purely by measuring that angle that the pendulum created whilst it was swinging backwards and forwards. And that demonstrates that the effect of rotation that we say would be there is in fact there, because you can correlate. You do this anywhere in the world and it's going to work. You will be able to calculate what your latitude is based purely on the drift of the pendulum. Well, we also have to, for our model to be what we say it is, gravity has to be real. And there is so many evidence that gravity is real. The Cavendish is a big one. It shows that there is an attraction between mass. And it's been, Cavendish is repeated all of the time. There's a guy called B.M. Furble who recently built his own Cavendish experiment in his flat in Korea, and verified the results that every other Cavendish experiment ever gets. So we know that gravity is real because it explains the downward acceleration that everything has. And if gravity is real, like we say it is, then the Earth has to be a globe. We can talk more about any specific points in the open discussion, but I think that's all I need to do for now.
You got it. Thank you very much. And actually, team, if you had anything you wanted to add, you guys have roughly like five or so minutes if you had anything you wanted to add.
Yeah, I would like to add that everything that Fight the Flat Earth said is absolutely true. Good job, Fight.
Whoop, whoop.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Very excited, folks. So from here, we are planning on basically just going into the open discussion forum. So this is very exciting. It's kind of like where these guys get to kind of get on the mat and kind of wrestle a little bit. So very excited. Gentlemen, the floor is yours for this open discussion.
Yeah, right. Can I just address one point that you guys made first, and then you can address one of our points maybe? Sure. You made a point to say that our knowledge of Earth comes from pictures in a book, or what we understand to be the shape of our Earth. It all comes from pictures and books, and that might be right at up to a certain age. At a certain age, when you leave the, we'll just say high school, at the end of high school, it's on you to make sure that everything that you were taught is real, and the knowledge of the shape of our Earth, anybody can determine this, especially from what Fight the Flat Earth just said. The shape of the Earth can only be one shape based on the observations of Polaris and the southern rotational stars, as well as the observations of sunrise and sunset on significant dates like the equinoxes, and the solstices. So it
Yes.
doesn't necessarily just come from pictures in a book. We can test
You're
it.
exactly right. And so getting out and looking at the stars, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Every night for 6 months is a really great thing to do. I follow a lot of astronomers, and one in particular was filming Jupiter, and I, just purchased a Nikon P900 looking at Jupiter and stuff like that as well, and got to noticing that you could see it for well over 6 months, which was, I was thinking, how is that possible given that Jupiter takes how many years to rotate the sun, or to go to orbit the sun? It takes about 12 years. And so if you look at it like a clock, within 6 months, we're facing one direction. We shouldn't be able to see them for over 6 months, but we do. And when I ask astronomers, how is that possible? They're just like, I don't know. I've never really looked into that, because it shouldn't be possible to see it for as long as we do. We see it for 6 months. And I flew to New Zealand this summer and was able to look upwards and see it as well at about the same, just, looking up at the night sky, looking at it and going home and looking at it. So it's interesting how we can see it for, I think, about a little over 6 months. I'd have to look at the dates, but it ends up being a little bit over 6 months. And the star trails, you were talking about looking at the stars. The slowest motion of Earth is our spin. Every hour, we only spin about 16, or let's see, what was it? Is it per minute?
15 degrees per hour.
Yeah. So our spin, if you look at distances Earth traveled, it's like 8,000 miles per minute based on that Big Bang explosion. Our distance around the sun is around 1,100 miles, and our spin is like 16 and a half. And star trails, they don't match that. There's perfect circles.
Yeah, because star trails are formed due to the rotation of the Earth.
That's our slowest motion. Slowest.
And understood.
Yeah.
But okay, so let me pose this question to you. If you were to do the same thing inside of, let's say, a car, right, and you had two objects, and you took one and you spun it, right, and you had the other one stationary on one side of the car, and you had the spinning object on the other side of the car, and you started driving. Now, would the speed of the car that you're driving in have anything to do with the relative distance between the two objects that are looking at each other?
I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm trying to picture what you're saying. I'm a visual person, and I'm kind of lost.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, if the car moves
not a problem.
of its own.
Okay. Well, basically, what I'm saying is, like, if you and your brother you sit in the front seat, your brother sits in the back seat. No matter how fast that car is driving, you and your brother will remain relative to each other at the same distance. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we can also agree that on a cosmic scale, that the distance that the Earth is from the sun is negligible. So anytime we're talking about the distance between the Earth and another star, we're really talking about the distance between the sun and another star. Would you agree with that? Correct?
Yeah, we're
at least
really
from our
far
model.
away from the stars. We're really far away from the stars on the globe model. We're
yeah,
super
on the
far
globe
away.
model, exactly.
Yeah.
So
If the model's true, then yes.
Yeah, we're really far away from it, and the Earth would be moving the distance of its own diameter every 60 seconds.
And so will all the other stars, though.
The stars are moving with the Earth, so the stars are moving with us.
Sure, the sun
So then we're at the center, and they're moving with us.
No, not
we would
necessarily.
have to be at the center for them to keep the same constellation.
If I can, the thing is, with the stars that we can see in the night sky.
So with the stars that we can see in the night sky, they are around us, moving.
No. They're not necessarily around us, but the stars that we can see in the night sky, visible with the naked eye, are moving around the center of the galaxy with us.
So all of these stars
they are a tiny
equidistant,
portion.
and they're so far away, light years away, and they're moving equidistant and remaining the same constellations. That puts us at the center with everything moving equidistant around.
No,
Oh,
not necessarily.
I mean,
Pretty much.
well, kind of. If you're talking about the stars that you can see visibly with the naked eye, I suppose it would be an equidistant sphere around us of
That's
the
pretty
visible
cool.
stars that we can see.
Well, then
Because
that kind of
that's
matches-
just how it works. But if you have telescopes, you can see much further than that. But the thing is, with the constellations that are in the sky, the ones we can see with the naked eye, they are in cosmic terms relatively close to us and moving around the center of the galaxy with us.
It would
So
have to be
their
us.
positions maintain the same relativeness to us throughout the years. But the thing is, the constellations do change. Like we've had to literally shift the dates of constellations recently so that people's birth months still line up with what their constellations are and stuff, because the positions of the stars do actually change. Polaris, which is the North Star, we used to have a different North Star, and we will have a new North Star again.
How long ago was that?
Team, do you know the date of that?
Of which what do you talk? Which one?
When was the Polaris not the North Star?
I don't have an exact date, but you
Was it
can
like-
look
was it
back.
like
You can
BC
look
era?
back to the. Well, you can. Yeah, I think it was during the. I can't remember which pharaoh reigned during the time, but it was during one of the Egyptian pharaohs.
So
And
it
the
was
star
a
was
long,
named
long
Thuban.
time ago. And if we were moving at Mach 600,
500,000
Mach
miles an hour.
600 and something through the galaxies, and everything is moving with us and maintaining that perfect position, it would kind of match what the astronomers are saying now, is that our understanding of the universe could be fundamentally wrong. That's what astronomers are saying. They're saying that space isn't flat. It's kind of the opposite of what we're talking about. They're saying the universe isn't flat, it's enclosed. And that's kind of what I'm seeing when I'm picturing just what we're saying is we're here and we're moving so fast. I mean, I'm talking like if you've ever been to one of those jet shows or tried to watch a bullet fly through the air, we
Okay,
could not shoot the earth
But
from outer space. Bullets
okay,
would have been out of
but
space.
here's the question: when you're talking about speed, you have to say what you're talking about it being relative to.
The
okay,
earth, like a
so-
bullet, and compared
No,
to
no.
the
I'm
Earth.
saying when you're talking about the sun and the earth and all this flying through space at these breakneck speeds, what is that relative to? Are you saying it's moving at those speeds relative to the center of the galaxy? Are you saying that it's moving to those speeds
They're telling me that it's
relative
moving
to
at
the
these speeds.
stationary like idea of space?
They're
I mean,
just, if space was flat, I was always taught as that model that space was flat, that it's this flat object, and when you see that model of gravity, the guy throws a ball in the center of it and tries to represent space-time and gravity and orbit and all that stuff.
but no, you're thinking 2D, whereas that's trying to represent a three-dimensional concept in
Yeah.
2 dimensions. That isn't him saying that's physically what gravity is. He's
No, I'm
saying
not saying that. I'm
have
just
to
saying,
imagine that in 3D. And when you're saying that we were taught space is flat, I don't think anyone was ever taught space is flat. Galaxies are in a disc shape, but
says
that's
that scientists
what
generally
space is
believe
meant
the
to.
universe. The universe itself is flat. Scientists generally agree the universe is flat.
Yeah, but
Can
do you
you-
understand what that means?
Yeah, can you tell me what you think that
Yeah,
actually
that
means?
most scientists generally agree that they believe that it's flat.
No,
They
I
really-
understand. I understand that comment has been made, and I'm not,
Yeah.
contesting the fact that you're making that comment. I'm asking you, can you describe what that means in terms that anybody can understand, even
yeah,
the people on
that
the
it's
live
not
stream?
a closed system, that we're not inside of some bowl or like some, I'm trying to, like a ball.
Okay,
We're not inside of
so-
a ball type
so
of
what it-
universe.
What it means to be in a flat universe means that if you shoot two lasers that
Yeah,
are parallel to
they'll
each
never
other
intersect.
in any direction, though, in any direction, it can be shot up, it can be shot straight, it can be shot down, it can be shot backwards. It will never come together. It will always remain parallel from each other. It won't diverge either. They won't converge, and they won't diverge. They'll remain parallel to one another. That's all it means by flat space-time.
Yeah.
Or flat universe. I'm sorry, not
Yeah.
flat space-time. Flat universe.
That doesn't mean flat as in that's the
It doesn't mean that it's the shape,
shape.
Of a pancake. Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that the
Yeah.
entire universe is one huge pancake. It just means it's flat in all directions.
Yeah. Can I ask a question just for, I'm not trying to be real scripted here. Can you see stars from space if you go into outer space?
That's a good question. It depends on what the brightest object in your field of view is.
That's what I was going to say. If you are on the moon's surface, where the reflective properties of the regolith on the moon, and even the sun and the reflections off of Earth are going to be a lot brighter than the stars, it's going to be quite hard to see stars from the surface of the moon.
Let me give you an example. At night, you'll agree that you can look up and see stars from the surface of the Earth.
But as you go into
Okay.
space,
well, hold on. Let me ask the question real quick. So you can agree that you can see stars at night when you look up in the sky. Now you can also agree that there are stars on the in the sky during the daytime. You just can't see them, right? From Earth.
Yes. Yeah, because of the atmosphere.
Right, because you have light that's coming in from the atmosphere that the light that the star is emitting is competing with to getting into your eye and being recognized as, as an individual object. Whereas something like the moon in the daytime or during the daytime is reflecting enough light down to you that you can somewhat see the moon. I mean, it's not as bright as it is at night, but you can still see the moon. You might not make out as many features, but you can still see that the moon's up in the sky during the daytime. So that's, excuse me, that is why you can't see the stars. Let's say if you're on the surface of the moon. Well, the moon's reflecting a lot of light.
What if you're on the International Space Station?
Well, okay, so when our eyes are like cameras that adjust automatically, cameras that they take up there are not cameras that automatically adjust. They're going to be set. They probably have to set the settings for different. I can't think of the term right now, but the different brightness levels, you know?
Yeah.
So if it's too bright, they'll turn it down so that the brighter object doesn't, exposure. I'm sorry, exposure. Yeah, exposure. So if they know that they're going to be looking at something that's really bright, like let's say the reflectivity of the Earth or the reflectivity of the moon, they'll turn the exposure down so that they can get the features of the Earth and the moon. But by doing that, they limit their ability to get features from like the stars.
Yeah, because I've just been curious because I hear astronauts say you can't see stars from space, and they're adamant it's all black, it's all gone. And then some say, oh yeah, you can see nebulas, and you can see this, and you can see that. And I'm like, well, which one is it? Is it black out there, or can you see them? If you're really out there.
You've got. I can go outside on a full moon, and take a picture of the full moon and stars with any camera.
I would dispute that because. A normal cell phone camera, right?
Yeah,
and the thing is, you can't. If you went outside and just took a picture of the sky with a normal cell phone camera, you wouldn't see the stars because the exposure time isn't long enough.
I've got that on an iPhone camera. I don't know if that's any different than.
I mean, maybe advances in technology are allowing the aperture to take in enough light to see that. But I actually did this live on the stream with someone once who was disputing that fact. And just a normal, basic cell phone camera, you won't be able to take a picture of the stars because there isn't enough exposure. You can have cameras that have longer exposure to do that, and
it was just a few stars. It wasn't like all of them.
Yeah, I mean, but if you were able to use the iPhone camera to have a longer exposure time, you would be able to see more because the aperture would be able to take in more of the light.
Yeah, my iPhone 4, I don't think had that technology.
Yeah, and I've got some questions too. There's some documents. You can go on, is it CIA.gov and NASA.gov? There are declassified documents from the 50s and even very much more recent than that keep bringing up this flat stationary Earth. And we put out a video called The Biblical Earth Model That Can't Be Unseen. And I put in probably 25 of those, just clips of those declassified. And this is public information. Right. That they talk about a non-rotating.
Do you know why they're using that terminology?
Well, because
they have to calculate based on
they have to
reality.
They have to work with reality. And
the reason is it's all to do with reference frames, right? If you are in an airplane and you are flying in the Earth, you're using the atmosphere, which is also rotating with the Earth. So for all intents and purposes, that aeroplane is moving over a stationary ground because its reference frame is that ground, and it's already got the momentum of the Earth rotating, and it's using the atmosphere, which is also rotating. So everything else is stationary to it. based on the fact that it is already rotating with the Earth. So that's why NASA used the terminology, it calculated over a flat stationary plane, because that is the reference of that airplane when it's flying in the atmosphere of Earth.
Okay.
Now, can I expand on that point a little bit?
Yeah.
Going back to the car example where you and your brother are sitting in a car.
Yeah,
let's
we
say
love that example because the car's
let's say
traveling
you
in a
have.
straight line.
Well, I'm gonna make it even better now, okay? Because now we're talking about a limousine. All right. So now you're in a huge limousine and you've got a radar gun on one side and your brother has a baseball on the other. Now, no matter what, let's say the car is traveling at a constant speed, whether it's constantly still or constantly in motion at the same speed and in the same direction. Okay. So if you have a radar gun and your brother throws that baseball down and it says 60 miles an hour, we'll say he throws it at 60 miles an hour and the radar gun reads it at 60 miles an hour. Now that would happen whether or not you guys were in a moving car or a stationary car. Like it could be driving at 100 miles per hour while going down the road, and your brother throws the ball back at 60 miles per hour, and you're on the car, you're going to read it at 60 miles per hour. Do you agree with that?
Now, let's just say, for example, that, if have you ever driven in a car that takes a curve at a really fast speed?
Absolutely.
What happens to your body? Does it stay in the exact same spot, or do you shift to the right or to the left?
You try to continue to go forward.
Yeah, as the car is taking a rapid
inside
turn,
inside
you go
the
sliding over.
Yeah,
it's like riding on a roller coaster or a Ferris wheel, something that spins very fast. You almost stick to the walls. So my thing is, people always talk about you're in a car driving in a straight line. We're not in an Earth that's moving in a straight line. We're in an Earth that's going 67 times faster around the sun and rotating at 1,000 miles per hour. We're not the Earth is, according to your theories, is not moving in an exact straight line. So using a straight line car is kind of not very realistic for this model.
But do you know the change in acceleration that we're actually experiencing?
Yeah, we get what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like 0.0012 meters per second.
Right. So these are fictitious forces, and of course, if you had sensitive enough machinery or the ability to test this, you would see that there's an actual velocity change based on centrifugal force, or like not velocity change. I would say horizontally velocity change as far as it drops. Because of the Coriolis effects. If you're shooting in the direction of the rotation of the Earth, then you're going to get a higher centrifugal force, which is what you just brought up with the car going around the corner. You'll get a higher centrifugal force, resulting in less weight pulling down. We have a video of that. Would you like to show that? Fight the Flat Earth.
Oh, damn! I don't have that one ready. 2 secs.
Okay. He'll get it ready. But this is a test that's been done by a fellow content creator and friend of our channel, Wolfie6020, who's a pilot who tested the weight of an object flying in opposite directions. One flying with the rotation of the Earth, one flying against the rotation of the Earth. Now, if you use the let's say the stars, for instance, if we use the stars as a reference frame, we can call that space for right now, just so we can make a stationary reference frame around that spinning Earth. Then what you'll notice from an outside perspective is that as it goes in the direction against the Earth, it's really moving slower relative to the fixed stars in space. Being that it's moving relatively slower, it's going to experience less of a centrifugal force. So here we go. This is the video that we're going to play. If you can share that, James. I don't know if you already have it.
Yeah. So basically, what Wolfie did, and there is video of him actually weighing the weights and everything. He's got a 500-gram test weight, and he verifies the weight of it before he gets on the plane, and it's exactly 500 grams. But then, as he's in the airplane that's flying with the rotation of the Earth, as Team said, that increases the centrifugal acceleration that you are experiencing, which counters a bit of the gravity, meaning that you will experience less of the gravitational acceleration, meaning that the weight will be less than 500 grams, which is what you could see is clearly, as you go, it does fluctuate with the plane as it's moving, but in general, it is shown to be like much higher than the actual weight normally shows. Now, vice versa, on the plane going from east to west, you reduce your centrifugal acceleration, which means that you increase your gravitational what you're feeling, and it weighs more. And he, as the graph shows, it backs up what what we say should happen. If the Earth is the mass that it is, and it is rotating at the rate that we say it is, then this is the effects that we should experience, and this matches what we say. And
So
this
weighing,
all carries.
weighing an object on a plane going in two different directions, and
Yeah.
the weight is different, right?
Yes.
So is the plane perfect? Like if there are 0G planes, NASA uses these in training.
And
0G planes, when they drop down, the gravity change, the weight of something changes because it's falling. So
and that's why
where the plane is flying perfectly, exactly straight. That's verified in both directions, no drop at all.
Well, as you can see, this is done over time. So this is the average of the whole flight. And yes, there is variations as the plane will be changing altitude and stuff, but the average of it all shows what we should expect.
And he's at the exact elevations because air pressure changes and things like
that. Actually, on his channel, he has the details of the flights and the actual flight paths and the altitudes at particular times and everything, and you can all correlate the information exactly as it is. But this all stems from experiments that someone called Lord Jotvoss did in the, I think, 1700s to test the theory of if the Earth is rotating. Mm-hmm. He did a similar thing on boats traveling east to west and west to east in the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Mediterranean Ocean. And this basically backs up the same thing that we can always verify.
Well, when you're flying, like let's say I went from California to New Zealand this summer, the Earth's rotation speeds are different at different places around the world, right?
Yes.
The linear velocity is different, but the rotational speed is always the same. The rotational speed is always 15 degrees per hour.
Yeah, but if it's 1,025 miles per hour when you leave and you land somewhere where it's 963 miles per hour, that's kind of like stepping off of a treadmill onto the. You know what I mean? When you've done that, you step off a treadmill and the ground's moving.
Yeah, you're talking about the conservation of momentum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, obviously, one thing you have to remember, like as I explained with planes, is they use the atmosphere that is rotating with the Earth to create their own lift and everything. So, if the atmosphere is rotating at the 15 degrees per hour, the different linear speeds, then the plane is also going to do that. But planes do experience effects of Coriolis, which is basically what you're describing, a change in the linear velocity as you go north to south or south to north, and you maintain that momentum, that linear velocity as you go, and then it's in a less area, and that is what we call the Coriolis force. Obviously, an aeroplane is powered. It has engines. It can compensate for these forces quite easily. And they are so negligible compared to the forces the plane is generating to actually fly anyway, that the pilot, they barely have to notice that they're ever going to make a correction for Coriolis. And we see the Coriolis experience more in things that are ballistic, meaning that they don't have anything that's powered. So if you are firing something from the equator, firing north, because the object is maintains its linear velocity of 1,000 miles an hour from the equator, as it goes into the zones of the Earth that have a lower linear velocity, it will actually creep ahead of the rotation of the Earth. And this is something that we notice happening.
What if you cross over the pole? Like what if you go from the equator over the North Pole and land on the other side, where, when you leave, the Earth is moving one way. When you cross the pole, it's spinning another direction.
Well,
picture it like a merry-go-round. Like you're on a merry-go-round. This is something we could go to the North Pole and do this, just like throwing a ball across the merry-go-round. I mean, it's merry-go-round's enclosed and the atmosphere is moving with the merry-go-round, and you'd have to slow everything way down because a plane moves slower than the Earth moves. I mean, the plane moves at 500 miles per hour. I get that, or 5 to 7.
Team, you want to take that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what you're describing would be basically if you went from, let's say, the equator to the 45th latitude or 45th parallel. Yeah, 45th latitude. I'm sorry. 45 degree latitude. If you went down to the 45 degrees, that's the same thing, but 45 degrees latitude. If you go down to there, that's what you're basically talking about is the change in velocity of the Earth from one point to the next. That point
Go
is
over a pole. Like if you're flying directly over the north center, you know where that imaginary
so
stick is.
what's going to happen is you'll have a deflection. So let's say you aim at the North Pole. If you have a ballistic missile, okay, we're not going to talk about plane flights because Fight the Flat Earth already explained that planes have engines on them, and the forces that we're experiencing are very minute. So the engines absolutely compensate for any forces that may be implied on the plane. Plus, the autopilot will correct, or the pilot himself will correct minor throughout the whole throughout the entire trip. So the Coriolis Force really isn't. You really don't need to really bother talking about it with a plane that's flying. The second thing, if you were talking about a ballistic missile and you aimed it at the North Pole from the equator, let's say you want to fire the ballistic missile from the equator to the equator on the other side, and what would happen is as you fired it up towards the equator, you would notice that that missile would be deflected eastward. So it wouldn't even make it to the North Pole. It would just be deflected eastward, and then it would go over, and then when it would come back down, it would come back down on the other side, and it would continue to be deflected eastward, I believe, until it got back down to the equator. Because it's like he says, it's conserving its original momentum.
Okay. Now I've just watched a lot of people. If you throw a ball, like if I'm in the middle of on one side of the merry-go-round and it's spinning and I'm throwing it to somebody else, even if there's atmosphere moving, the ball is going to look like it's curving, but it's not. And if planes fly over the pole, it should be very similar, just a slower model. I mean, it's a slower degree rotation than a merry-go-round, but
yeah. So let's imagine. Well, a plane, like I said, talking about non-ballistic flight's kind of hard because you always have to make minor corrections.
It could be a hang glider. It could be a hang glider. It could be it could be a helicopter.
Even a helicopter works on, it's going to be carried, yes, but at the same time, there's going to be minor corrections. Anything that's powered you're going to have a problem with anything that's powered because of the minor corrections that's constantly being made. Now, if we talk about things that are ballistic, when we say, let's just get something in the air and get it headed in a direction and in a straight line and see what happens. And that has been demonstrably proven that you will have a deflection in the direction of rotation.
Firing cannons, for example, would that be acceptable?
Sure.
Have you seen experiments where people have fired them in multiple directions and even straight up? Have you seen that? Have you read of those experiments? The results?
I mean, no. I guess I've heard of.
I would definitely look into.
I've never seen anybody do
there's
that.
There's a book called The Flat Earth Conspiracy, which is probably the newer book that people could easily find online, where he just basically goes in and looks at a bunch of those proofs of people who have fired. Back before this was settled science, so to speak, they were firing cannons in different directions and guns and firing them straight up. And they'd say that the cannonball goes flying straight up, and then it falls, and many times straight back down into the hole that it was fired from. And the results of that are interesting if you want to.
I mean, I've heard those claims before, but I've never seen any evidence of that.
Yeah. And it's kind of like Project Echo, where they sent a balloon 1,000 miles and it was in, it inflated and then it popped. And so since it popped, it came back down to Earth. And that's really not how vacuums work. I mean, if it was a vacuum, helium balloons don't float in a vacuum. But since it popped at 1,000 miles, it came back down to Earth and it landed.
Wait, what?
Right, just a few miles away.
You said there's somebody sent a helium balloon up 1,000 miles?
Project Echo, back in the early days of NASA. Early days, Project Echo.
But that's a bit of a side. I mean, we were talking about Coriolis, and so there was it the First World War or the Second World War team with the artillery?
I believe it's World War II.
Right. So in the Second World War, they were trying to set up the guns to fire in a certain direction. I think it was from south of the equator towards the equator, right? And they had the manual from where the guns were made, and they set up the guns based on that manual. And what they found was they were actually having twice the deflection in the opposite direction to what they were expecting. The reason for that was that the guns were actually made in the opposite hemisphere. And so all the calibration and everything for it was to compensate for if you were going from the other direction. So, but once they, figured that out, they adjusted it the other way, and then it worked out. And that was a physical demonstration of the fact that the Coriolis is a real thing.
Well, we have a buddy who is into artillery and in the Army. He's since retired. But he talked about, he said they never, when he said there's might be books that talk about this stuff, but he said when you're actually out there firing, if you accounted for any rotation, you would be taking out villages of people, you know, like they just didn't do that. And when he asked people, you know, what about the rotation of the earth? They'd be like, no, we aim at a target, you know, and if we're off, we adjust, but we don't want, you know, he was firing 20 miles away and hitting targets all day long, just training. And he said they never accounted for any rotation. And he was actually in the field doing this stuff.
Well, I do know the American Army artillery manuals do actually have
The book.
things in them for accounting for rotation.
Have you ever fired one or seen someone fire one where they were accounting for it, or is it in a book? That's the question.
I was in the Royal Navy, so I didn't really see artillery shells fired.
About it, but
Now,
this guy had firsthand. He was shooting
Okay,
these
so
things out.
for your guy that has firsthand knowledge, you made a comment. You said he just aimed and fired, and if he missed, he adjusted. Well, how does he know that he's
He
not?
wasn't. They weren't aiming for. They have somebody spotting them to tell them how close they are, but they aren't. They're not accounting for curve before they fire their shot, or not curve. Or they weren't accounting for curve either, but they weren't accounting for rotation as well. They weren't accounting for any of those when they were firing. They were just firing.
And how far away were they firing or
He
claiming?
said anywhere from 15 to 20 miles. It just depends. Usually, somewhere in there, just over. You know, just
how long would that object be ballistic? First off, is it ballistic?
Yes.
Is it ballistic or
from
is
what
it,
he was
is
telling
it a
us,
rocket?
these things were launched. These were shot at a target. It was like a giant.
Okay.
Basically,
So
like
we're talking about something that's not in the
like
in the air.
It was kind of
okay.
like a sniper rifle, but a missile, a very big version of a sniper rifle.
Well, I guess when you say missile, are you saying that it has a small rocket on the back of it, like that's powering it with fins?
No, I'm sorry.
Or is it just something that takes off from that gets fired by?
You're firing it out like
kind
like
of
a bullet, like if you're shooting a gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're at 12 miles or 12 kilometers, you'll experience some Coriolis effect, but you're still not going to experience you're still not going to expect to see a deflection of a mile or a half mile from an object that's being fired over. You know, the defining factor that really defines how much Coriolis effect you should get in there is the speed at which the object is moving through the atmosphere and the time that it's ballistic. So if it's ballistic for less time, then it's going to experience less force acting upon it as it moves. Now we're saying acting upon it, but when we say acting upon it, we mean acting upon it from our reference frame, which is a rotating reference frame.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't still be that much force acting upon the ballistic object from our respective point of view, but there still should be some. I'm not denying that there should be some or should not be some.
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's not going to be a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can I
not
shift
at such a short distance?
A little bit. I'm here. I've watched a lot of debates, and I kind of go to sleep when they start getting like this. But I just wanted to ask some questions if you guys have heard about this stuff, as far as things that shouldn't be possible. But a humpback whale song being heard up to 4,000 miles away, and then when you're learning about this, you hear that the ridges, the undersea ridges, can create what's called acoustic shadows, where you can't hear any sounds, but they can hear. A whale they've been heard another humpback whale has heard the song of another one from 4,000 miles away, and the amount of curve would be about 495 miles. And so why doesn't that cause an acoustic ridge in terms of it, like the ridges would?
Well,
sorry, I had it muted there. Okay, so sound travels through water, it travels like by vibration, not necessarily line of sight like it does with like light.
Then
so
how
you'll
do the
have
ridges block the sound?
Well, I would have to understand that a little bit better. I'd have to look into it and see exactly how it's working.
To me, that was a kind of a really cool.
Well, actually, sound waves in the water can actually reflect off the surface of the water and continue going.
How do the ridges block the sound and the curve not block it? Then that's my question. If it would bounce off the surface and come back down, like the ridges are where the whales go and they can't hear each other. But if they're not behind the ridges, they can hear each other. at 4,000 miles.
Well, you know, I mean, like I said,
495
without
miles, which is
looking at it,
Yeah.
I'd have to see which ridges you're talking about, because it could
Yeah.
be creating the specific shape of the ridges could be creating wave cancellation, you know, interference, destructive interference right there. I mean, there could be several different reasons as to why that's happening. For me to be able to really look at it and give you a definite answer,
Yeah.
or at least a decent answer, without looking at it, I could say there's a lot of reasons why it would create it. And being, you know, if the ridges were shaped in a specific way and specifically far enough, then yeah, there's a possibility that the wavelengths of sound that at that depth or whatnot might be canceled out due to the contour of the shape of the seafloor. But I don't know without actually looking into it.
Yeah, and it gets pretty complicated with such large distances, kind of like with Guglielmo Marconi when he was firing those signals, line of sight signals over 2,000 miles, because the argument then becomes, well, it's going with the curve and it's bouncing off of water and it's bouncing off of the ionosphere, and it would have to be, but if you do it to scale, it would have to be like 30 something odd bounces off of ionosphere, water, 30 something times. And since those days, I believe we've gone twice as far as that. And so it becomes even
but
a lot more bounces.
what about
Like,
what about when you use things that aren't affected by ionospheric bouncing and stuff, like microwaves? Because FE Core did their own microwave test, which was longer than any other line of sight test before.
Yeah.
And they had an extremely powerful microwave transmitter set up, and they couldn't get a signal at all. And there's no reason that if the Earth is flat, that a microwave signal should have been interrupted. But as microwaves wouldn't bounce a lot around the ionosphere in the same way, they didn't pick anything up.
Why didn't they bounce? That's what, because they go in a straight line, like line of sight.
Yeah, but it's much more to do with the frequency of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you guys some questions while we got you here? I'm really excited to just kind of pick your brains apart and just see what you see. As far as deception goes with NASA, I think a lot of YouTubers out there are going, well, look at this video, it's fake. You know, they're faking a lot of things. Have you ever seen any deception from NASA looking through that footage, or do you feel like you always can explain it away?
It's always easily explained.
Easily? Okay. What about like the string on the satellite or the flag waving in a vacuum?
Well,
I think those have been.
No one's saying that there aren't like balloon type satellites. There are like high altitude things, but they're not the same as satellites in space. And the flag waving in space, that's again to do with the conservation of momentum.
Have you seen the footage that was from the live feed when Elon Musk had Starman in space and the CGI background wasn't started yet?
Yes.
Did you see that glitch where all of a sudden the Earth just magically lights up in the background when it was a studio in the background? Did you see that?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't see that.
Well, it's in my video, and you can look this up online. It's easy to find. It was a live feed of Starman, and it was an obvious glitch. I don't know if we have footage of that. Could I share my screen real quick? I just want to show something, just a few things. But I was gonna say,
after you share your
why
screen, I'd like to go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why are they still doing that? Why would Elon Musk need to fake the Earth in the background? Why would he need to do that?
Well, you're making the assumption that it's fake, and our claim would be that it's not.
Okay, so if you saw that footage, would you still dismiss it?
I'm looking at it now, and there is no reason why things wouldn't glitch. Oh no, this is just a glitch.
I can't see anything.
Could I share my screen real quick?
Yes.
Okay. There's little things like this right here. I don't know if this is the right video I'm looking for, but times they don't get caught very often. There's been virtual reality glitches where you can see the wire harness didn't get masked out, things like that. Let's see. I mean, when you watch the NASA Fells videos that are out there, there's so many. And
see,
they're right here. These guys, it looks like they're really there. And I've seen these types of footage a lot, but only the moving objects in this VR simulation they're doing, however they're doing it, glitch out. This is NASA's video. This isn't one of mine, but only the moving objects. All the moving objects mess up, and then they cut.
Hold on. That's not that doesn't show just moving objects glitching out.
Only the moving objects glitch. Anything that moves, like this little thing here, this guy. Look at their faces.
Look at the left thing. It's not moving. Go ahead. Hold on. That left blue tube-like thing is
Yeah,
not
I
moving
mean,
whatsoever, and it begins to
no
glitch
one's
out.
saying that video artifacting
This is a moving object
isn't a
right
thing.
here.
There's a
Look at this. Look at the
moving-
left side of the screen. Look at that. That wasn't moving.
there was
at
a
all.
net moving in front of it.
Yeah,
It
there-
went completely
the
out.
net that this guy's touching is moving. But when everything glitches out, the net glitches out. Their faces. It's an exact cutout of their
I don't
body.
see a net. I don't.
It's
see a
their
net at all.
exact cutout of their bodies.
Yeah.
I can link this video.
I mean, that's okay. There's actually one of your NASA fails videos where at the beginning there's a guy getting out of a lunar lander and stage lights fall down.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know where that's actually from?
yeah. That's actually I think from a video or a movie.
Yeah, it's a student in London
Yeah,
in
somebody that
2002
used
made
it looked
that.
like the same exact stage, but yeah, I wasn't sure where that was from originally. I had no sources to it, and I still don't. But
Oh,
I've heard.
just- I'm still looking for this Starman where the Earth just.
Can y'all
glitches
see what?
in.
Can you see what I'm sharing
Do
now?
you have the Starman footage?
We can see
No,
what
I
you're
don't.
sharing.
It's in my
Yeah.
there, in our video. The biblical Earth model that can't be unseen. It's near the end of that. It's in there, and I can put
That
a link in the
one's-
comments of this if the comments are actually enabled. But it's very obvious that in the background of that car, behind it is a studio of some kind. There's obviously other stuff there, and then magically everything just flashes, and the Earth appears in the background. And to me, I can't explain away the part of me that says, "Am I being lied to?" Just the red flags just start going off when you see that they're still lying. Why? There is no space race. Why would Elon Musk need to lie to us?
Well, the
But
weird,
again, you're making the assumption that what you are seeing is actually what you think you're seeing. When I can guarantee it can all be easily explained,
Yeah, we
and
can
you
explain away
have to you have to make the assumption that they are lying. But
well, let's get.
we would say that they're not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's easy to say. And look, I will.
What about
yeah.
that? Let's move on from that one. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes
Yeah.
on when you look into this, especially with he's talking about Elon Musk. Have you guys ever heard about Von Braun's last words? Some of the stuff he was saying
Yeah.
and the warning he gave. All that stuff has already happened almost, except for the alien thing. Elon was mentioned in one of his books of colonization of Mars. And he said the person that rules that rules Mars is going to be given the title Elon. It's something like that. It's not an exact quote, but he said there's some lies going on. He was warning about they're lying so that we can weaponize space, and we have the Space Force coming out, and all these things happening, and we have to have these threats.
Oh,
It's
correct. Yeah.
You know, it kind of sounds conspiracy-like, but if he was saying that, and it was conspiracy-like, 5 years ago, but now that it's happened, and here's Elon and Mars and all of that. It's
Okay.
almost like scripted. It's weird.
Can we get back to a claim that you guys made real quick?
Yeah.
You guys made a claim about rockets not ever having a launch to space, launch to orbit, uncut.
Like all the
Yeah.
way to the ISS. Like
Yeah.
it takes off
And-
more than just.
Well,
10
I
minutes.
mean,
You know what I mean? Like
how long do you think it takes to get from the ground to the actual ISS?
I've never seen that footage. I would like to see if you could.
I mean, it's not like a fucking, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't want to cuss. It's not like a 5-minute journey, you know?
Uncut from outside the rocket.
Okay, so but we can give you uncut to space. We can.
I see that a lot though. It
Okay.
just it goes to space and then it's
No,
done.
well, where's it going then? I mean, they're actually filming.
I would just like
something
to see
because
where
you
it's
can-
going. That's the thing.
Yeah, fisheye, a
Well, okay,
non-fisheye lens.
I
Where is
don't,
it
I don't
going?
care if it's a fisheye
Okay.
lens or a.
And-
futile- I just want to see where
will
it's
you
going.
present- James, will you present Fight the Flat Earth screen? Will you pull up that video?
The
bet.
one that I sent you.
Yeah, the one you sent me. I've got a couple of them lined up too, but you can just play that one.
Yeah,
That one.
and then I want to go back to their claim about the studio on with the Starman because I know exactly what that is.
Okay.
Right, where is the? Right, okay, so this is
Is it possible to hit screen share? Perfect. And then if you were able to hit screen share as well, then it'll be a little bit clearer or
right,
crisp.
okay. So which screen do I need to share?
There's usually like a little green square with a little arrow coming out of it. It's kind of a strange symbol, but it's either on the top or on the side of your Zoom window usually.
Right. Okay. I'll share that one, and then I'll make this full screen. Right. Is that working?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Atlas V launch, and I drag it through so you can see, but it is uncut from launch all the way up to space, and then
It cut. Why it just cut?
yeah, and then once they're in space, they then show you the separation from the inside, which is a pretty cool thing to see.
That's pretty cool.
But it absolutely shows it from launch to space.
I want to
Without the cut from that.
I mean, like,
There
how
it is.
how
Okay.
long is?
I mean,
the
I understand you want to
They
see
get
it
to a certain
from
height
the
and it
point
always
that it goes
briefly
to
cuts
the
away, convenient.
yeah.
Why don't
you know,
they do it without a cutaway?
I just want uncut footage.
well, maybe because they're the thing
Half
is
an hour.
they're not trying to prove anything.
They're
to
not
anyone.
trying to, but they should
No.
be with today's
Well, no,
audience.
But the thing is, with all due respect, people with your beliefs are still the fringe. And
I would love to
NASA
go back to question.
NASA have no interest in proving anything to you guys because they don't care about proving stuff.
They don't have to care
What
about
they
it.
are interested in at the moment is
Why did-
constructing Gateway and getting the Artemis missions off the ground so that
If
we
they
can get to
don't
the
want to prove anything, why were they faking the circular Earth through a window?
They
on the
didn't
moon
fake
landing?
that. That wasn't
So,
faked.
We
And
have
that
footage.
whole
We have absolute.
I know.
proof.
I know.
Footage.
What you've got
Faking this
footage. Wait.
shot.
What you've got footage of is the a funny thing happened on the way to the
Yeah,
moon
and
documentary,
it-
which has all been debunked.
No, it hasn't.
That same moon, if you take a
absolutely
picture,
has.
if you take the
No.
picture of the moon from the window and then zoom in on the picture of the moon in the background where they're standing at the flag, it's a cut and paste. It's the exact same moon. I mean, it's exact. I mean, Earth.
You can see them put the crescent shape in the window. You can see the
No,
the,
you
the
really can.
background. They said that
Honestly,
Earth-
that stuff has been all debunked, and I think that
It's
is,
the same
it's
moon.
not.
It's the same Earth in the background as the,
it's
the
it's
exact same
going
cloud
to look the same.
formation.
But trust me, the funny thing happened on the way to the moon has all been debunked.
I'm
Just
not
check
talking
out.
about that. I'm not talking about just that. Like if you go beyond that.
Wait.
documentary-
Gem, just so everyone knows where to go and see the debunk, Gem Panda has actually done a debunk of the entire thing extremely well on his channel.
Well, if you,
Um,
I'm not talking about that whole thing. I'm talking about if you go beyond that documentary, if you look at the picture of the moon the picture of the Earth from the window with the clouds and everything, the formation of the clouds, and then you look at the picture of the Earth in the background, the one that had the square over it when you adjust the levels and everybody says it's JPEG, whatever. I don't care about that. If you look at the Earth, it's the same Earth as the one in the window. It's the exact same cloud formation. It's the same Earth.
That's Earth. There's only one Earth, so
Yeah,
And
and
it's, I know, but it's the same cloud formations. It's the same picture. It's like they
do
took
you know
that
the
picture
do you know the time period between it will take in again, just watch Gem Panda. He's actually debunked. I don't need to debunk something that's already been
and
debunked.
I understand.
I would like to address one of your specific claims that you just made. And right, so you are claiming at this point you can see the studio and everything in the background, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. you
And
can. On the footage I have.
as it plays, you can see it all of a sudden the Earth appearing there.
and
here,
there it
right?
is.
Yeah. Please tell me you're joking. You do know what that was, right? That is simply the payload opening.
Go backwards to the beginning of the video.
Beginning of this video.
No, the footage from what's it called? Right there, in the background. Those lines in the behind the car where the Earth was at, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the
And
inside
it's-
of the payload that the Tesla is in. That's like the bit that was holding that car. That it's not the car like magically appearing. They put that out to show.
It was
Wait.
during a live-
At this, yeah, because at this point, this exact point, the payload is opening.
Oh, I think his point was it was during a live feed, and this was well after. I think is what it was. I don't know.
Well, no, you're kind of changing what you're saying there. You're trying to say that this is showing him that going from a studio to
There's no Earth right there.
yeah, because
And then all of a sudden there
at this point, the camera, which is on the car, is also inside that payload, and then it opens up, allowing the car and to go into space, and that's what you're seeing here from the inside is the payload opening and the car being released to space. And
I've
that's why
never-
the
I've
the
never
Earth
heard
appears.
anybody make this claim that
No.
that was fake. I've
No.
never heard that claim
I
before.
honestly made me think that you guys are joking.
No, the only thing I've heard about that was that it happened after it already happened. Like it happened twice. But
I
that
mean,
was-
that's just a bit of a strange thing to say.
well, let me.
Wait, how do I stop?
I'll just let you retract that piece of evidence you put forward, because I don't think you guys realized that you were looking at the inside of the
I wasn't sure.
of the capsule as it was already in space, but that's not a problem.
Yeah. Can I share my screen one last time for something I was wanting to show the last time we talked and I never got to show it?
Yeah, that works for me.
It's just a quick experiment that you
How
can
do I
do
with a
with a
stop
fisheye
sharing?
lens.
I think that there should be that button where it was before, whether it be on the side or on the bottom. It might not be in the exact same location, but you're going to be at least looking for the same symbol button that should say "Stop Sharing" or "Stop Share." And in the meantime, and what I can also do too, hold on one sec, I can actually pull you out of it on my end. Let me do that really quick.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind, because I've no idea how Zoom works.
As
I think at the top middle of the screen, it should say "Stop sharing."
I just got him out. All right, so we now it should. It's okay. Go ahead from the Flat Earth Brothers if you want to jump into share a screen. And I also want to mention really quick. I have to say this because we're very excited, because I just heard back from. You won't believe it, and I've actually got to run this by. Technically, let me just be sure that it's actually it could work for TeamSkeptic. But Team, I had heard back today from none other regarding the possible debate in Dallas for this live debate tour coming up. You won't believe who said, "Hey, I will be willing to debate with TeamSkeptic."
Oh, I know who it is, because I was already informed of it by him in FTFE's live chat. But I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You do realize what you're getting yourself into, though, right?
James, you might as well just get a boxing ring, mate.
This would be so exciting. So for those of you, it sounds like we have confirmed it. High probability that we are going to have TeamSkeptic in an in-person debate on our live debate tour in Dallas with none other than Nathan Thompson.
So if I could just start the PayPal now for a Teams bail money, that would be great.
Nathan Thompson, we met this guy before. No,
Oh, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Different guy. I thought his name was Nathan. His name was Nathan. Okay.
There's a whole lot of Nathans in the Flat
Yeah.
Earth.
Can I go on to what I'm?
Yes, absolutely.
I was always looking at the space footage of how the Earth goes from convex, concave, convex, concave, and I thought it should be very simple. Just looking at the space footage and seeing how it can go flat sometimes, and it all depends on the camera angle. And a lot of people who are experts with fisheye lenses, they can reproduce the same footage, and we've seen that from all sorts of different elevations and heights. But if you take this curved horizon like you see here, if it was already curved, right? Let's say it's already curved and that's the shape of Earth, like we're seeing here and like we see on all sorts of posters and stuff. If that's the curved line, my thought and my question was, can this curved line be bent in the opposite direction perfectly with a fisheye lens? If it can, great. I'd like to see that. And so you can take a curved line in a curved horizon and move a fisheye lens. And when you try to bend it in the opposite direction perfectly, I was amazed how it starts to curve down a little bit in the center, but on the outside, it always keeps the outer edge curved downward. But when you look at the space footage, it's flat, it's perfectly concave, it's perfectly convex. It's just back and forth, concave, convex, flat that you see with the fisheye lens footage. But you can only do that with an existing flat line. You can't do that with a previously curved line when you have a fisheye lens and you're moving it up and down with a curved line. The outer edges are kind of
absolutely can distort a curved line to look not
you
curved.
You can distort it, but you can't make it look like that. You can't make it be perfectly curved on the outer ends. The outer ends are what give it
I mean,
away right there.
What do you? That's a claim that you're making, and what do you base that claim? Because I would actually, I would dispute that and say that you absolutely can do that with a fisheye lens.
But I would like to see you try it with a fisheye lens and a flat horizon versus a curved line, and see if you could make the outer edges. If the outer edges on this went perfectly, smiley face here, that's what I'm looking for. But they don't. The outer edges remain curved downward here. The center, I can get to almost flatten out. I mean, the center of this curved line looks pretty flat. This is from a screenshot from an experiment I did a while back, but I never could produce the concave line like this ever on the outer edges. The center, you sort of can, but never like we see when we see footage like this right here. This is, I believe, SpaceX. But this is the kind of footage we get continually. We hardly ever see pictures of Earth like this. We're like, yeah, there it is, Probably why concave Earth exists. But yeah, that's just a simple fisheye lens experiment you can do and see that you can't match what we're getting from the space footage of the concave.
There's actually plenty of pictures that come from the space station and stuff that, although they do have fisheye lens, there's things in certain positions that aren't distorted, showing that it's not the fisheye lens that is causing the curve that you're seeing.
Yeah, but I've never seen this. I've never seen a curved, like if this is a curved line, to bend it perfectly in the opposite direction, you can't reproduce with a fisheye lens.
I don't see why not. If you can do it one way, then you can do it the other way.
If it's a flat line, yes. A flat line, if I'm starting with a flat line like this, like let's say, because this is space footage, let's say if this is reality, if it's a flat horizon, I can curve it in the opposite direction perfectly, and I can curve it down perfectly. I can curve it any way I want, and I can also make it flat. So I have three options with a flat line. I can make it curve this way. I can make it curve that way. I could also make a flat line flat. But when you have a curved horizon, you can make it sort of flat, but not perfectly flat. You definitely can't curve it perfectly in the opposite direction. And that's just using space footage. And repeatable test. You can get a camera and try this over and over.
I mean, I'm not an expert in cameras, but I've seen plenty of videos demonstrating what you're saying can't be done.
Yeah. I've never seen it done with a curved line perfectly on the outer edge. The outer edges are the key to the whole mystery here.
Right, bear with me. I'm just trying to get... Team, you got anything to say while I look for a picture I'm looking for?
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't. I was actually paying attention to the chat. What was the claim?
It was just an experiment I did about a year ago with a fisheye lens and comparing it to space footage, how you can take a perfectly curved surface like this right here, like let's say this is Earth's surface and it's curved, looking at it from the ISS, and how it'll sometimes go flat and sometimes footage from space will go concave, convex.
Mm-hmm.
It does that weird little distortion.
Yeah.
And that's just, your normal fisheye stuff. But my question was, when I was going into this experiment, was how is a fisheye lens able to bend a previously curved line in the opposite direction perfectly, and is that possible? And when you try to experiment with it, you can get close, but the outer edges never curve upward like the smiley face. Like this would never become a perfect smiley face. The inside of it would, the center would kind of flatline here, but you're not going to get the concave, perfectly convex, perfectly concave curved lines you see here.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but
but you're
it'll still, but you're
getting that.
There's transformations out there that you can apply to fisheye lens. If you know exactly what camera and exactly what lens they use, there's transformation grids that you can apply, and actually now they have different programs and different plugins that you can use to apply those transformations to try to reverse engineer the picture. It's not always going to be perfect, but just because it doesn't make the perfect smiley face, I don't think it would make a perfect smiley face with anything other than a straight line.
That's exactly
or
right.
A line
that's exactly right. Yeah, I couldn't make this straight red line here bend perfect. I mean, I could. If I had a fisheye lens and I'm just looking at this red line, I could bend it perfectly this way, perfectly that way. But if there's a curved line right here,
I could make it almost flatten out, but at the edges, it's going to remain curved. And then towards the center, it'll sort of flatten out a little bit. But you just can't, I can't replicate with a repeatable experiment what I'm seeing with the space footage and the curved horizon going perfectly convex and being curved on the outer edges.
The thing is, there's no reason why, if it can do the distortion one way, it can't do it the opposite way.
It can with a flat line. It just can't with a curved line. That's the
Well,
thing.
no, it still could do it with a curved line. It would just be
does,
more
it
of a
can't-
distortion.
The outer edge right here won't bend up like perfectly like we're seeing in the space footage.
The outer edges isn't what you need to look at.
I'm looking at it though, right here. This is the outer edges,
All right,
and they're curving perfectly upward. It's convex, or I guess concave. I wrote one more word.
All right,
Yeah,
so
concave.
there's pictures like this that show that even though there's curvature, there's points that where it's perfectly flat, which would, if that was the result of fisheye, then it
Yeah,
would
if you
distort
point,
those
if
as
you
well.
point the fisheye lens below the horizon, it'll curve it like that. But if it's already curved, you wouldn't be able to make it concave perfectly with the outer edges curving upward. If the horizon is indeed curved.
But as this quite clearly shows, the horizon is curved because the other artifacts in it aren't bent; they're straight.
But I know, I see what you're saying, but if they couldn't take that same, if it was already curved, they could not show me a picture of that where it's concaved. If it was indeed really curved, they couldn't show me what I'm seeing, like what I'm seeing here.
There's no reason why you, with the way that these transformations happen due to barrel distortion, there's no reason why what you're describing couldn't happen.
It can't. You just can't get a straight line to bend up on the outer edges with a fisheye lens. I mean, a curved line to do what a straight line can. I mean, I just encourage anybody to try that experiment themselves. Get a straight line, get a curved line, and try to replicate it. You almost can, but when you do, the line gets out of your field of view. It's almost, it's impossible. I wouldn't say impossible, but I wasn't able to produce it in the many, many times I tried to produce it.
That doesn't mean that the effect can't happen just because you couldn't produce it with the equipment that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I've been trying to talk and I didn't realize I was muted.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still don't understand what your point is with this picture.
This is
What
a
are you trying to say?
I'm sorry,
What
the
are you trying to
screenshot
say?
here is a curved line that I
Uh-huh.
was using a fisheye lens to bend in the opposite direction, and I took a still of that from my experiment. I was trying to
Okay.
produce what they did, where they went from, they made a perfectly flat line, they made it concave, and they have it convex. I was trying to produce that with an already curved line.
Well, then, okay, so what you need to do is try to okay, let me try to do this for you real quick while I'm on here. Go ahead, fight. I'm going to try to reverse engineer and make that that straight line I'm going to try to make a straight line that can be curved using a fisheye transformation.
Yeah, you
Well,
can.
I think what they're saying is that if the Earth is curved, then you shouldn't be able to then reverse that curve to a concave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. It'll still reverse to a concave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand the objection because there's no reason why it couldn't. That's literally how the barrel distortion of fisheye lens works.
Yeah,
exactly. With a flat line, that's how it works. But with a
not with just a flat line. With anything.
Yeah, you can make this curved surface almost start to go convex, and sometimes a little bit convex.
Well, yeah, there you go then. And the thing is, the curve
edge.
of the Earth is very subtle from space, so of course you're going to be able to make that go concave. I honestly don't understand your objection, because what you're saying can't be done can quite clearly be done.
I experiment with it. Get you a little curved, slightly curved line, and try to make the outer edges do that. It'll be challenging, but it's just an experiment. It's one I've done. You guys can.
Yeah, I'd encourage the people to do that, because I think a lot of people.
I'm trying to do this in After Effects real quick and try to model it out real quick.
Yeah.
But how about some? We actually presented quite a lot of evidence for the Earth being a globe that is rotating. Like how do you counter the fact that we can quite easily measure the rotation of the planet?
What I wanted to show, I didn't even, just a small, I think I just stopped screen sharing. Let me go back to screen share. One thing you said about seeing curve, that's the thing that this debate can go on for quite a while, because you can see it sometimes and sometimes you can't. And here's one right here. I'll try to make it bigger. Right here, where you don't see curve at all. This is by Wide Awake, looking at what's called cutter rack, and he gives you all of the dimension, and he even shows you where his camera is. It's like 2.5 feet above the ground, and the target distance is way further than it should be, because there's 57 feet of curve that should be seen from that distance, and there's not. You can see the rack, you can even see horizon behind it, and it's right there over a short distance of 11.22 miles. But there's the target height according to the Earth curve, but you can see the rack right there. I know it's not great footage because it was dark, but you can see it. It's there without all the refraction and distortions in the daytime. When you're at that elevation, the atmosphere is at its thickest, so you're going to have the most mirroring effects and all of that. And you can watch things, you can watch horizons rise and fall throughout a given day. I mean, the curve would rise and go back down just because of the refraction.
Do you know how? I mean, what you're seeing there is the light from a lighthouse, right?
No, this is cutter rack.
What is cutter rack?
It's a rack that's it's out in the water. You'd have to watch the footage. The footage I can link in the description, or not the description, the comments or something later on. But he shows himself filming his camera with his phone. You can see the footage. It has different footage of him filming how high his camera is. It's right above the water, 2.5 feet. It's footage by Wide Awake.
Yeah, and people have things like, you can see the Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan. You shouldn't be able to see that. And
yeah, but okay. I mean, you're hopping from point to point, and I mean, those are all things that have been easily explained. I mean, the Chicago horizon, why can't you see it all of the time, and where's the bottom of the buildings? But how about addressing some of the evidence that we brought up, like the fact that there's the fact that we can easily measure the rotation and movement of the Earth
easily.
Yes,
very easy, right? And that's the thing is, are we saying that, are we basing the fact that this is a proof? I mean, what is a proof? If what's the longest site that somebody can see?
No, okay. So you've moved away from my points again. You're talking about sites that you can see. What about just actually go in with the evidence that I can quite clearly give you evidence that the Earth rotates.
The evidence you were showing is kind of like Michelson-Morley that proved the Earth wasn't moving.
No, you don't know what the Michelson-Morley experiment is, obviously.
Same type of technology.
No, it's really not. That's linear interferometric.
But here's the problem, though. If you go, well, here's an experiment that proves that the Earth is a globe, because you can't see this whole mountain. This whole mountain, part of it's gone, or you can't see this, and that proves that the Earth is a globe. And the problem with that is, you see it. If I show you.
Okay, but I'm talking about the measurable rotation that we can have.
Yeah, the measurable rotation.
Yeah. The pendulum experiment that I showed you, which was a homemade plastic pendulum that can, just by the virtue of the fact that the pendulum is swinging, will show you your latitude on the Earth, and it will be accurate wherever you are.
That would not. That's impossible on a flat Earth model.
If there's no reason that would happen if the Earth was flat and stationary. That drift that you encounter is a direct result of the fact that the Earth is rotating. So there is no reason that you would get that if the
its slowest motion is detected by the pendulum.
The
67,000 miles per hour around the sun, that doesn't show up on the pendulum
because it's not anything to do with that, and you're misunderstanding the point of what I'm saying. But that movement that I have that you've just said is detected by a interferometric fiber-optic gyroscope, but a pendulum swinging. What we are talking about is what you should expect to happen if there is a pendulum swinging on a globe that is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And if that is the case, based on your position, you will be able to see what the drift is and calculate your latitude. And the fact that these things correlate and
What if we were
actually
at
match
the-
out.
What if he was at the North Pole? Has anybody ever done this at a pole?
Yeah, if you did it at the North Pole, you would get an exact 15-degree rotation.
Hear about
But
that?
as you go towards the equator,
Have you done
you would
that
get
at-
less
have-
than.
Can I
done at the
jump in
North
real
Pole?
quick? I finally got that animation ready.
Yeah, I mean, they're jumping around answering the question. But
Okay. I just want to do this one. Just show this real quick because I just put a fisheye lens on a sphere that's moving across, so it has a
Oh,
curved
okay.
surface, and there is a point at which the line goes straight.
I'll be back in 1
on
minute.
both sides. All right. Give me one. Here we go. All right. Let me know when you're ready, James.
Totally ready.
Okay. So this, I've just put a fisheye effect in the middle of the thing so you can see the sphere going. You see how it's starting to get concave. It's kind of towards the end, but you see how it's getting kind of concave right there. And
That's
then it
in
comes
the middle.
back
I'm
up.
talking like a horizon.
Okay, I know, but this is unfortunately this is what we're
Yeah,
able to
so-
work with. It's still a fisheye lens effect. It still takes the sphere and bends it as it goes around and
the
starts to
sphere's-
become
Yeah,
concave.
it's out of the picture. It'd be kind of like if I was looking at.
Look, that's the edge right there. Okay.
Mhm.
I can try to get it
Yeah, you can make a flat line.
straighter. But that's just using that's just showing how a fisheye lens is going to bend a curved surface into convexity, and
For
at
the
some point,
horizon, use get like a straight line. If you can put like a straight line that goes from one end of the screen to the other, like a horizon, like you would see with a camera.
that okay, so
You can bend the middle
would
of the thing,
still
of the image,
be-
but not
oh,
the
wait.
outside edges.
go back to this. I mean, the only thing I can really do is to simulate the same thing,
Sorry
just to
about
make it, to
Yeah.
scale it up a lot and then move it. But
Yeah.
okay, so let me. I don't think it's really gonna help your case, but see, it just makes it. I mean, it's already gonna start slightly straight, but now it's becoming too big for the. It won't
Yeah.
start really fisheyeing until the very edge right there. You
Yeah,
can't
you
really
need
tell.
a fisheye lens and a flat line and a curved line to kind of compare the two to what we're seeing with space footage.
Let's see. Oh, whoops. So I'm trying to see if I can just make it smaller again and see if I make it too small, then you won't be able to see it. It'll be
Yeah,
more
By
defined.
the time
but-
you could see it, it's out of view is usually what I found. You could almost see it, and then the horizon's out of view of your eyes.
But this is just to say that something that distorts like a fisheye lens will take a sphere and it as it goes from being concave to convex, it will pass a point at which it's neither. Now, whether it passes that point of convexity a little bit earlier on, when the horizon is crossing a certain point on the screen, like let's say, for instance, in this example, when the let me go ahead and increase the size on this again. Okay. So in this example, this portion of the sphere, right?
Mhm.
This is passing through a different type of, it's not like the exact same distortion is going down up here as it is up here. Okay. So if you don't get a straight line, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it. If you do get a straight line, all you have to do is just make sure that it's for a valid reason. One of the valid reasons that we have with the Earth is that it is almost a straight line when you're looking at it. So as it passes through the center of the frame, that portion of it is going to be straight, just like it would in there's hardly any distortion in the middle of the fisheye lens.
Yeah. Yeah, at the center, if you point it at the center, like if you have a cross in the middle of your screen, you point it
You
at
can
the
take
center.
me off of screen
Yeah,
share.
you'll
I'm sorry.
see.
You got it.
Yeah, I think it was Crow XE. He did a really good experiment with the fisheye lens, showing how it distorts. And he's a baller or he was when I last talked to him. But he did a really good fisheye experiment with the straight lines and how the fisheye lens distorts it and all of that. And that's actually what got my wheels turning, because I watch the debunk videos and the things like that, and people from both sides. I like to go out and do my own experiments too, though. And when I find stuff like that just doesn't match, it's interesting.
Okay. What about getting back to the evidence that we brought up, the fact that, you know, how does the flat Earth, a stationary flat Earth, explain the fact that you can measure these things with something as simple as a pendulum?
Yeah, and that's you're saying the pendulum proves a globe, and
no. I'm saying the pendulum is evidence that the Earth is rotating as we say it is.
I say let's look at all of the evidence, you know, and I think we always find our way into looking at only one side of the issue. Is there evidence that people have seen way further than you should be on a globe? You know, and when you find those experiments that people are doing on a clear day when the atmosphere isn't completely obstructing a view, you know,
yeah, but none of that is anything to do with what I'm saying.
Yes, it's evidence in the other direction, and you need to be able to look at both sides.
I'm asking you to look at my evidence.
Yes, I'm asking you your evidence. I'm very proud of it.
Great that you love it, but I would like you to try and explain how it is possible if the Earth is flat and non-rotating.
It just it depends on how the pendulum's designed, how the top of it is. If you let it go, I mean, I wasn't there when he made it.
The fact that you can do this at any point on the globe and accurately calculate your latitude.
Yeah, at any point on the globe, or you could be doing this on any point on a plane. What is it really proving? Is it showing us?
Yeah, I'm asking you to explain how it is possible that you can correlate to your latitude based on the drift of a pendulum if the Earth is flat. How is it possible if the Earth is flat and non-rotating?
Because there's a magnetic center. There's a magnetic.
That's plastic. The one that the gentleman physicist did was plastic. Nothing to do with magnets.
I mean, we're saying, because a pendulum does this, it proves the Earth is a globe. The only thing that's going to prove the Earth is a globe is if we see visibly a picture of the Earth from space that's real, not something that's photoshopped. If we can,
thing is, we can show you plenty, but you're just going to go, no, that's not real, that's photoshopped. Because I will dispute that the pictures from 1972 that are known as the blue marble are fake, because they are absolutely not fake. They were not taken through a circular window to show it in that particular way, because that has all been debunked. And frankly, I can't believe you're holding on to something which has been so monumentally debunked.
No, I'm not trying to hold on to debunked information here. All I'm saying is, if something contradicts the globe model,
but nothing contradicts the globe model ever.
Nothing ever does.
No.
You can see past curve sometimes.
Yeah, there's a thing called refraction, and you actually don't understand the way that light works. Like, or if you want to look at Eric Dubay's stupid 200 proofs, every single lighthouse thing that he talks about, he doesn't even take into account the fact that lighthouses were designed to use an effect called looming, where the light is actually shined out in a particular way that, yes, you can see it further than the curve of the Earth, because that's the way the light is shining out from the lighthouse. He doesn't mention any of these things. All the times when anyone says, you can see further than you're supposed to, therefore the Earth's flat, they're actually wrong. None of these sightings prove that the Earth is flat, because they can actually all be calculated based on a globe. And if you have, they absolutely can. No, wait, stop, don't interrupt me, because there's a very good point.
It's a basic mathematical formula.
The current and I bet you don't even know what the formula is for the curve of the Earth, do you?
No, I have no idea.
Well,
enlighten us.
Well, if you don't know it, then how can you say it's a basic mathematical formula?
You're saying there's a new one. I thought you're saying
is there a new formula?
Like a new formula?
No, there's what do you think the formula is?
8 inches per mile squared.
No. Didn't you say that one of you is a maths teacher?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk this through in maths. Is it possible to have something that has two functions to create a circle?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Yeah, you're not a maths teacher. So what the 8 inches per mile squared maps out a parabola, which is not a circle.
At a certain distance, what distance does it start becoming a parabola?
Formula, it's always a parabola. It doesn't just start being a parabola. It is always a parabola. The correct formula for the curvature of the Earth is h equals 1 times r. H equals r times 1 minus cos a. And that takes into account the height of the observer and everything. And then you obviously have to apply refractive indexes and stuff to that. But you don't even know what the actual formula for the curvature of the Earth is. You're just spouting a bunch of flat Earth parrot stuff. And to have a math teacher that thinks that 8 inches per mile squared could even calculate anything other than a parabola blows my mind.
No,
You don't have your facts right.
The fact that the Earth has a certain amount of expected curvature, and there is a formula that people use to measure that.
Do you know where that formula came from, and where the first time it was used in the flat Earth debate?
If you're talking about the Earth being a ball, which is what you believe.
No,
The Earth being a ball.
no goalpost shifting. I'm asking you about that specific formula. 8 inches per mile squared. Do you know when that was first brought in to the flat Earth discussion?
I don't care. I'm not here to
Right.
to bring
The reason
up
that was first brought into the flat Earth discussion was because Samuel Rowbotham. Wait. The reason that was brought into the flat Earth
It
discussion.
has a diameter. It
Rowbotham-
makes a spherical shape.
Just stop. The reason that formula was brought into the flat Earth discussion was because Samuel Rowbotham misread it in the Encyclopedia Britannica under the heading of leveling. It is nothing to do with the curvature of the Earth. It is a parabola. It does not map out a sphere. You don't even have the correct facts to be arguing your point. Honestly, that's what annoys me so much about this. That Samuel Rowbotham was the flat earther that started the modern flat Earth movement, and he misused that equation to try and say that we say that is the curvature of the Earth. No one on the globe side thinks that 8 inches per mile squared is the formula for the curvature of the Earth, because it is simply not. And every single time, for instance, the world record long distance photography, where you can see something, I think it was 400 kilometers away, that was brought up in a debate on my channel, and we did the maths live on my channel, and it actually showed that the observation matches the globe. There has never, ever been an observation that is not explainable by the globe model.
Well, Mick West, do you know who he is? Is he a globe
Yes.
earther?
We had him on our channel, on our show called Science or Satire.
He's
He
a
was
globe
awesome.
earther, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
also the creator of the original Tony Hawk
Okay.
games.
So is his Earth curve,
so much.
horizon, bulge, and drop hidden calculator, is it accurate?
It's pretty accurate, but there's an advanced version of it.
Okay.
Did you know there's an advanced version of it?
I just used the one that says.
No. A direct question. Do you know that there is an advanced version?
I don't know which version I'm looking at, if it's advanced or not. I just know that I use his. It's called Calculator by Mick West, metabunk.org.
Yes, you're using the basic one. There's actually an advanced one where you can,
We're not using the correct version. So there's another one, and it's going to give me different numbers.
No, it will give you more advanced calculations where you can actually input refractive indexes and stuff into it.
Yeah, okay. But when I use his, and there are many times where using Mick West's Earth Curve calculator, because he's a globe earther and he knows the math.
Yeah, I guarantee you're wrong.
Okay, so I'd like to interject here because I did a report on this actual photography, or I did a video on it. If you talk to the actual photographer who took the picture, he will tell you that this was an uncommon event. That this event was only possible because the refractive index was so optimal that day that he caught a picture of something he didn't even mean to photograph. Because under normal circumstances, under normal refractive indexes, you don't see that mountain.
Yeah, because
I believe
water
you're talking about peak
in the
definition
atmosphere acts
also.
like a lens, and it magnifies.
Not necessarily.
So it shrinks things.
Not necessarily about that.
It's like the moon looks larger at the horizon because there's more atmosphere. You're looking through more atmosphere. It magnifies.
So you're saying wait, team. He just disproved flat Earth. If he's agreeing that there's a gradient in the atmosphere, then we're not in an enclosed dome, and therefore the Earth's not flat. So, is there more atmosphere at the horizon?
When you're lower, the atmosphere is thicker.
And
so why would the sunlight have to travel through more atmosphere?
Yeah.
If it doesn't go down in height.
Yeah.
If it remains at a constant elevation as it circles the Earth, how does it go in? How does it ever get down into more atmosphere on the horizon?
It's where you're looking at it from. It's your perspective where you're looking at it from. Similar to if you put a candle on a table.
Which one of you is the math teacher? Hold on. Which one of you is the math teacher?
My brother is, but I'm giving you an example. If I put a candle.
Hold on. Before you say that, I want to ask the math teacher this. What would be, or you can calculate it out as if you want on your own free time to be able to test your own assertions. what would be the minimum height we should ever see? What would be the minimum amount of angular distance from the horizon that we should ever see the sun at?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Well, I mean,
minimum,
understand basic trigonometry, right?
what are you saying? When
So
should we see the sun?
let's say we're on the Tropic of Capricorn, okay, and it is the winter solstice for the northern hemisphere. All right, we're at midnight, solar midnight. So the sun is on the exact opposite side of the Earth. So now all we have to do is determine the distance between the Tropic of Capricorn and the North Pole. Multiply that by 2, and then you'll have the distance from the sublunar point. Well, it wouldn't be the sublunar point; it would be solar midnight. You'd have the distance from solar midnight to solar noon, the where the Earth is, or where the sun is over the Tropic of Cancer or Capricorn at that time. You can then use that distance to determine, if you know the height of the sun, of course. Once you know the height of the sun, you know the distance to the sub solar point. You can then calculate using trigonometry what the angle is that the sun should appear up off of the horizon. Math teacher would be able to do that.
Okay, so you're saying, so what's the? I'm not exactly sure. I'm sorry. I'm listening to the question, but I'm not hearing a question.
So how high is the sun? Here,
how high is the sun?
Yes.
Yeah.
What height is the sun at?
I have no idea exactly how high the sun is. How are we going to measure? No one. It's gone from 1 million miles.
Just give me.
We've been given so many different numbers.
Okay. I'm saying
we're on about in your model.
According to your beliefs, according to
my beliefs,
worldview. Yeah, according to
my worldview, I would love to put I really wish I could put an exact number on it, because what is amazing to me is how hot the sun. If I go out to the beach, right, and I go to Hawaii in the summers and things like that, when the sun is directly above my head, it gets so much hotter, and I'm thinking, to me, that's impressive that it's 93 million miles away, and then with just in a few hours, it can get that much hotter. From early in the morning till just 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock. That it gets that much hotter, and it affects the Earth in so many different. The weather is supposedly caused by this sun that's 93 million miles away, and we've got so much drastic. I can drive to Florida from where I'm at in a couple of hours, and the temperatures are dramatically different. And this sun is supposedly 93 million miles away. I am awestruck by that it can be that far away.
I mean, your misunderstanding of how energy is put out it is irrelevant, because you're not taking into account the fact that on our model reality, the sun's rays are parallel. And what that means is, because the Earth has a tilt, it means that certain areas of the Earth receive the same amount of energy but over a larger area, meaning that it receives less energy per mile squared. Whereas at the equator, it receives much more focused rays because it's not tilting away from it, meaning that it receives more energy per mile squared than areas away from the equator. Okay. It's simple maths and geometry.
Back to simple math and trigonometry here. Okay, so I have the distance. I calculated out the distance via 69 miles, 113 degrees from the North Pole down to the Tropic of Capricorn. So that's 7,800 miles approximately. So we double that. That gives us 15,600 miles. Okay. So now we have our baseline of the triangle. So now we're going to need the height of the sun. So at this point, I would just like you to give me an estimation of what you think the sun is at, the height the sun would be at. I mean, you don't think it's in the actual physical clouds like where the airplanes fly, right?
No,
so it's not 5-10 miles.
I don't even have a ballpoint figure of how high it is.
I mean, would you say 1,000 miles? Most people say about 3,000 miles.
I don't think it's that high. I personally don't think it's that high. It depends. There's a lot of variances with this, because when you see the firmament and how it moves and everything, it's got these fluid properties to it. So I don't know how that affects the sun.
What?
Or anything like that. You guys probably.
Wait, are you claiming the sun is inside or outside the firmament?
See, I don't. It depends. It depends. I really don't know.
I mean, that's a basic thing that we need to know about your model to be able
Yeah.
to.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people, if they think you're a flat earther, they think you believe that the Earth is a flat planet in space, and that's absolutely not true at all. We're not. I don't believe that the Earth is in space. I don't believe that the lights in the sky we see are planets and these distant suns. Um, I think that the Earth is absolutely stationary, and the sun is moving above us. And as it moves away, it moves out of our perspective. Just lines of perspective, they merge.
Okay, but
why doesn't
that's
the
how we're
sun-
testing this.
Yeah.
That's how I'm trying to test this here. That's why I say we have to have something to be able to test this idea. We can't just trust you to say, "Oh, you know what, guys, don't worry."
Well, I would have to know exactly how big the sun is, and there's so many different things we can't, as from our focal point, we can't measure. We can't look at the sun and see a plane
yeah,
going.
we can measure. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We can't look at the sun and see a planet doing what?
No, like a plane going in front of the sun, and then a bird, and then just go, well, I think that bird's bigger than the plane because it's closer. Like you can't. There's a lot when things get far away from you and you're looking at them.
I mean, I can understand that. I'm not contending that point.
But-
But there is something that we can absolutely tell as an absolute fact. Throw a solar filter on top of or in front of a lens
Yeah.
for a camera, and then you can measure the angular size of the sun in the sky. And I
Oh, yeah.
believe
That's a good
just
one.
off the top of my head, it's 0.53 degrees.
I've done that with Wolfie, his footage of the sun with a solar filter, and you measure the pixels of the change of the sun. I forget the math. It's been about a year and a half since I've done that experiment, but it's quite a bit of a change. It's when you zoom in on it. If you just look at it from your computer screen, this tiny little dot moving across your screen, it doesn't appear to change. But when you zoom in,
well, we have a picture. We have video from Red's Rhetoric that shows different than what you're saying. Fight. Do you have that video to pull up?
I'm just getting it.
Gosh, you need to have this saved in your vMix. Get us one of your tabs and just put proof videos in there.
All right. Come on.
Now, the reason why I asked you that question earlier, why he gets that ready about the height of the sun, is because we can take that 15,600 miles, we can take whatever height it is, and then we can use math to figure out the angle at which the sun should be at midnight. We're not talking about when it sets. We're talking about 6 hours after it sets, 6 hours before it rises. The sun should never go to the horizon. I really, really wish that people would stop saying that without understanding what they're saying. The sun would never go to the horizon.
You can do this over a short table because it's a large scale. We have a short table with a candlestick with a magnifying lens representing the atmosphere, and make it move away from you, and it will set directly down into the table.
Okay, that's a special type of lens. Are you suggesting
just a magnifying lens? Can I show you my little picture real quick from the sun? I found it. The sun change size.
Yeah, it's what's called a Fresnel lens. It's not a regular lens.
But yeah, these were. Let's see. Just looking at the size from his video where he had a picture of the sun setting, you can see there is a difference. And it's a lot more noticeable than I was expecting to find if it was 98 million miles away. And you can look at, just regular without the footage, with no filter, with no solar filter whatsoever. You're like in a desert where there's no low humidity. The sun will go from looking like this to looking like this.
Well, yeah, that's because you don't have a solar.
Yeah,
you don't have a solar filter, but there's no humidity. But if you're just filming with a camera, and then you're in an environment where there is humidity, it's not going to look that drastic. It's almost going to look like the sun gets larger as it's setting. Sorry, these are some random. This is altitude balloon.
I've never seen that before. The sun getting larger as it sets.
It's huge at sunset. The moon as well. It's gigantic.
Glare, yeah.
That's hold on. I believe that's just an optical illusion.
I filmed the moon like crazy. When I film it, it's way larger when it's at the horizon than it is at any other point.
Can I share?
Do you have? Yeah, share your screen. I would love to see that evidence.
Okay, but this is from Wolfie's footage right here. Is all I've got. That's on the screen. I don't. I kind of showed you the screenshots where I stopped the video, but here's at sunset, and here it is at its max size.
Yeah. Thing is, it wasn't zoomed in fully in his footage. But if you could stop sharing your screen, and I'll show you.
It was a time lapse. It was from a time lapse.
Okay. So share. So Red's Rhetoric did his own observations, and he made sure that he stayed zoomed in for the entire thing. And let me go to the bit where it's playing it. Oh. Yeah. So he throughout the whole day, and it literally was exactly the same size for the entire day. And the thing is, even in what you were showing, with there being a little bit, right? The thing is,
what you were just showing, can you go back? Because the sun was actually, the tops of the sun was touching the top of the screen. And then as it got towards the end, it wasn't touching. It was like you could see the whole.
It was just moving up and down in the frame. Let me go back to that.
Right there, the whole sun, it's kind of it's touching at the very top of the screen. And then as you go along, it gets to where it's not.
Yeah,
like
that was just the screenshots. But if you actually take the angular size, like that screenshot was a bit smaller when you put it in there.
The sun's cut off at the bottom.
Yeah, and the top there.
Yeah,
but
and the top.
If you take the actual angular size and compare it to the others, the angular size is exactly the same. That's just a bit of bad editing from Ed's, but the angular size of the sun doesn't change, and that's the important thing.
These are pictures. But I mean, I'm talking like from a time lapse.
Yeah, no, this was all from a time lapse throughout the whole day. That's what this entire video is. But my main point is that if the Earth was flat and the sun was small and local, moving away from us, what we should see is that the sun should change in angular size by 5 to 7 times, and we don't see that. If you have a solar filter, there is hardly any difference in the angular size of the sun.
It was about a 25% difference.
Huh?
And what in the pictures that I had, it was about
and they're shot with a proper solar filter.
When he had a solar filter from Wolfie's footage, yeah.
Was it zoomed in at different levels at different points, or
it was? He set up a camera and had a video of the sun with a solar filter setting, and he said his video was saying the sun didn't change its size. Well, when you when you look at the footage and zoom in on it, and don't just look at it from like your computer screen, just watching this little dot move across the screen. When you zoom in on it and take screenshots at it from both from start to finish, it changes about 25%.
I would have to see that.
I've got it right here.
I've seen several. Okay, go ahead and play it.
I've got. Let me see.
How do I stop sharing again?
I've never figured it out.
I think I was wrong. It's instead of clicking a green button, there should be a little red tab, like a horizontal long bar or tab that says stop share. At least that's what it shows on mine, but it might be different if there's a Mac PC difference.
Yeah, could you just stop me sharing?
You betcha.
Yeah, it's at the top of the screen.
Yeah, I can't find that thing either, James.
Yeah, my guess is it might be it might depend on the system that we have, because it sounds like maybe they'd look different. But we were back to the dialogue boxes, unless was there someone who wanted to share a screen their screen now?
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the video real quick.
Okay, all yours.
I don't know if I can find the video, but here, let me pull up my.
Hey, which one of you is the maths teacher?
Sorry, he stepped away, my brother.
Oh.
Michael. Let's see here. All right. But here was the sun at the start of the video. and the sun at the end of the video. You could just watch it kind of set during this video like that. And when you look at this, when you zoom in on it, I would say I don't know exact percentages. I can't remember when I counted the pixels, but the difference would have to be something like this on the sun, on the globe model. But right here, this is, I don't know, 25%, 20% difference. It's quite a bit more than you should have.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, to me, it looks like you started the line a bit into the one on the left. You haven't gone all the way across like you have on the one on the right.
Yeah. Well, this is a zoomed in photo.
I understand that.
That was as close as I could get with my little.
But what I'm saying is that red line, which is what you're using as a
basis.
Yeah,
the green circles are the same size.
Yeah. Okay, but that red line, which you're using as a basis, hasn't started at the most left point on the sun on the left image, whereas on the image on the right, it starts all the way over. So
don't even look at the red line. The green circle is a copy.
No, the red line's kind of important.
Even
if you're talking about the green circle, a lot more of the sun on the left is outside of the circle than the one on the right.
But can you see a difference in those two just by looking at them with the eye test? They definitely don't look the same, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
it's actually hard to tell. No, it really doesn't prove the Earth is flat.
I'm kidding. But okay. I mean, if you can't see that those are not the same size,
it's actually hard to say when you've got these overlays on them. But the way that you have edited that is actually a bit deceptive.
Okay, so just remove the red lines. Those I was zoomed out when I drew those, but these circles are the exact same shape. Are the exact same size. They're the exact same size. Sorry. And the sun fills up this green circle, but it's not filling up this green circle.
Yeah, that's because you've positioned it awkwardly.
No, the circles are the same size.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you that the circles are the same size, but you have positioned the circle on the left-hand image, so it is not actually in the center.
Yeah, we could slide the circle I did that over. So you can kind of see more of a percentage of like it's a pie chart or like it's a.
Yeah, that's not how pie charts work.
I know. Well, I'm trying to think of an example, like a moon phase. I mean, like this is.
Did you say your brother's back, the maths teacher?
He's back.
Hey, if I had a number that was 10 to the negative 17, is that a positive or a negative number?
10 to the negative 17?
Yeah.
He's going to give you a fraction. It's a positive number.
Right. Okay. Carry on.
Now, go ahead, bro. Okay. Sorry. This is all I wanted to show. I've got to wrap it up soon. I have to head out.
I was going to point out that you can obviously see that there are things in front of the sun and when it's orange. Like
because this was at the latest point in the when it was probably obstruction from a cloud or something. But
I mean, there may be obstructions covering portions of that cloud. I didn't say it was a circular. I did not say it was a circular cloud. I said there may be obstructions covering portions of the sun.
Could be.
There's obviously a cloud that's right in the middle and on the lower third, correct? So do you not think that a portion of that cloud or a cloud that one's attached to could be moving in from the left to the right?
I mean, there could be clouds perfectly circling the sun.
I mean,
that's
not what I said.
I don't know. I see what you're saying. Like you're saying there's something right here in the middle. Top middle. Yeah. No, I
said that. No, there's something there. And there, if you look at the bottom one where it's not zoomed in, when you're not looking at a pixelated thing, you can see
that's the eyes
kind of a cloud.
Nose. No, I'm kidding.
There's kind of a cloud going across the bottom third too. I just simply said that a portion of the cloud could be blocking out, or that some of the cloud could be blocking out a portion of the sun getting to the camera. And that's not unreasonable to think that could explain what you're seeing.
Yeah.
No. But I'm still saying that I don't think there's as much difference as he's making out there because the sun is outside of the circle.
The green.
I think this is a good experiment that we should all kind of keep trying to replicate. If it's a difference greater than this, then it shouldn't be. Is the only thing.
Well, okay, so we can agree that parallel lines don't intersect, right?
Right.
Okay, so now you would need to explain how the sun got below the parallel line going out from your eye along the horizon, because the sun drops below your eye level, correct?
Yeah, it goes.
Okay, so it should never get below your eye level. So why does it go below your eye level?
No, everything vanishes due to perspective. Everything will eventually.
Right.
But
So
the model we have.
things, okay, but we can test this though. Okay.
Yeah, you can
because
get a
you
table.
say things disappear as they go into the vanishing point. Why does the sun not disappear going into the vanishing point? Why does the sun?
It depends on. There's Earth isn't.
When have
What's
you
that?
ever seen the sun just disappear in the middle of the sky and not
No,
make it to
I'm
the
saying
horizon?
the sun, it vanishes due to perspective. It appears to be dropping, just like convergent lines. It's the laws, literally the laws of perspective.
But
Oh wait, you said the
convergent
law of
lines,
perspective.
the convergent lines will never actually converge. Is this correct? So no matter how far away, no matter how far. So if I have a let me ask you a question, okay? If I have a red laser beam 1 meter high, I have a blue laser beam 1/2 meter high, and I have a green laser beam 1/10 of a meter high, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, red, blue, green, and we shoot those parallel to each other. Will they ever, no matter what it looks like to us, will they ever converge? Will they ever come together?
They never converge.
Okay. So if you're on a plane that's flying 5 miles in the air, how can you see the sun set?
Because it goes out of the line of sight.
The line of that's exactly opposite to what you just said.
If you're looking at a bunch of power lines that are, let's say the power lines closest to you are 50 feet up in the air, and you're looking 3 miles down the road, the ones off in the distance go lower and lower and lower and lower until they appear.
But do they ever appear to go below your line of sight?
If they're far enough away. Far in a long
no, they will never. They will never appear to go below your.
You're right. Actually, if there's no atmosphere,
come on, the math teacher answered it right the first time.
Listen, team, you're right. If atmosphere got sucked up by the vacuum, like let's say atmosphere just did not exist, and there was only water, and there was no atmosphere, then it would be very obvious what reality is. But there is atmosphere. There's the ground that you're standing on has elevation changes, and if you take a small table or a long table and replicate atmosphere, you can watch anything set into a table. It'll disappear. You can get a cup of glass of water, put it on the table, and a light from your phone 3 inches from the table, and look through that clear glass and move it away, and that light will drop down into the bottom. I mean,
if you guys want to go to Professor Stick's new video featuring me, we debunk that exact claim.
Yeah. It's what we can't study the bottom of the Marianas Trench looking down through water, for the same reason we can't watch the sun for so long. The sky changes colors, different lights getting filtered out. I could go to the Marianas Trench when the water's clear and film the bottom if that was possible, but it's not. If the sun was at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, why can't I see it? Why? Or if I'm at the bottom of the Marianas Trench looking up, why can't I see the sun? When I go scuba diving after 82 feet.
What's the density of the atmosphere?
So when you're scuba diving and it gets dark, it's the same thing as the sunlight. Why we can't see it for so long?
Right. 2 questions.
Okay, so
first off, I just want to point out that the pixels in the image in the left are smaller than the pixels in the image on the right. Why is that?
They're the same size. The pixels are the same size.
It's almost like you've zoomed in or out. I've literally just got a bit of paper up and on the screen and measured it, and the pixels in the image in the left are slightly smaller than the pixels in the image on the right.
Use the arrow because I don't see my arrow. It goes from one corner of my arrow to the next. Pretty close to me. Looks like they're exactly the same.
I'm gonna have to do screenshots of that later and measure it exactly.
Screenshot it and test it out.
Now I will say that somebody has been sending me screenshots showing that this comes from Ragical, the Unhallowed Knight, in the live chat, says that the green circle that you're using is not even circular. It's kind of squished and a little elliptical.
It's an oblate spheroid. It's an oblate spheroid. It's chubbier at the equator. But this thing is a copy of this. These two should.
I understand. Give me a second. It also is not centered on the orange circle. So what I would need you to do is, if you could, just center it on the orange circle, so that the center of the green circle is on the center of the white circle and the center of the orange circle. I see what you tried to do. what you try to do is show what portion of
Yeah.
of the green circle is all showed in a clump on one side, so that you could visualize what
If I
portion
could
is
share my
missing.
screen
But
quickly, I'll show the correction. If that's
There you
all
go. Right, I got it. I fixed it. There you go. Like that.
let me get to the Zoom meeting real quick. Maybe a little bit down, a little bit.
A little bit down.
Yeah. If I could just show my screen quickly, I'll show the difference between what you're presenting.
You want to see that there with it down.
And now that red line needs to be moved all the way to the left.
Well,
of that
just
sun.
ignore the red line. That's what he's saying.
It's really
Just ignore
hard
the
to.
red. I mean, I don't see it as huge of a difference. I see probably
but definitely
you
less
know,
than 0.000431108 or whatever difference we should have.
oh, definitely more than that, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you just said less. Again, until I saw like I'll look at the video and see what comes of it from looking
I
at
can't
that.
remember the title of it shows up right here. Another sunset with and without the solar filter. And this was from Wolfie.
Okay. I mean, I'll look into it and see more about it. But
I'll stop sharing. There you go. So
if you make a little bit of the corrections, it doesn't appear to be as much as you guys were saying it was before, especially when you're showing the whole sun inside of the green circle instead of a slight portion of it outside. Because I did see where Fight the Flat Earth was coming. As much as you wanted to center, as much as you were trying to show the portion that it was on,
That's the corrected image that I'm showing.
There was a portion of it that was still hanging outside of the green circle. So go ahead. What'd you say? Fight?
I'm just showing the corrected image.
Yeah. Do you see it? Do you see now over here where the green circle still has that at the bottom left, it has that tinge of orange that's coming out of the outside of the circle?
Yeah.
That's why you need to center it, and then you can get a better idea of what's missing. I've never seen the video, so I can't comment on it, and I'm not an expert in photography, so I can't tell you. Like I'm wondering why the sun is so bright in the sky, with the solar filter.
Because there's less water vapor in between it. In between
I'm talking about with a solar filter on, so it would eliminate glare.
Yeah, with the solar filter on, it's still going to have brightness differences just because it's like scuba diving, dropping down to the ocean, how things get darker.
Let's explore something that you just said. There's less water vapor up there because the atmosphere is thinner, right?
Like you can see, like when you go scuba diving.
Yeah, we get that, but so are you agreeing that there is a gradient in our atmosphere?
The atmosphere is thicker because there's more of it weighing down on the bottom. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
hold on. Are you saying that with water vapor in the air becomes more dense?
The water vapor can change. The humidity can change.
Right. Okay. So are you saying that water vapor is more dense? Humid air is more dense than dry air?
Humid air being more dense. It has more water vapor in it than in dry air. I mean,
you can stop me sharing.
Dry air is less dense. Is more dense than humid air is.
Define air. I mean, like,
if you take if you have a section, or let's say you take a cubic volume of atmosphere, okay, and you have one cubic volume that has a lot of water vapor in it, and one that is completely dry. The common sense thing to think would be that the volume of air that's more humid is actually more dense. Therefore, it has a higher refractive index and whatnot. That's not the case. Dry air is more dense than humid air. Therefore, dry air has a higher refractive index than humid air does.
Mm-hmm. Similar to how a balloon without air weighs less than a balloon with air, type of thing. I mean,
no, it's more to do with that.
I mean, I see what you're saying. When there's no water vapor in the air, it's more refractive.
Yes.
So on a dry day, like when you watch the sunset on a dry day.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think causes refraction?
Refraction.
Yeah.
What it changes throughout a given day.
Yeah. No. That's I asked. What do you think causes it?
The water vapor in the air, the amount of humidity.
No. What causes
Not at all.
refraction is a change in density of the medium.
Mhm.
It's nothing to do with water vapor that's
So-
causing refraction. Refraction is purely caused if the medium the light is going through has a gradient of density. So
For
if
instance,
it's
let me
sorry,
give you
go on, team.
let me give you an example, okay? When people want to maximize their sight distances, when they want to take these photos that show really, really, really long sight distances, they have to pick two scenarios that work for them the best. One, it's got to be cold, because as the atmosphere cools, it becomes more dense. The second is they have to do it on a perfectly dry day. The drier, the better. So cold, dry air is where you're going to get the highest amount of refraction of light. That's why they choose stuff like doing laser tests over really cold ice. That's why when they take the pictures, they get the most refraction during the morning time, not during the evening time, when it's the coldest, not the warmest.
Yeah, it's like you've removed that magnifying lens.
Remove the magnet.
Yeah,
What?
if you're
No.
representing atmosphere that magnifies with a lens, you
No,
remove that lens on dry days, you can see.
We're not talking about magnification. We're talking
but
about
you can watch
refraction.
it happen. You can look
Yeah,
at.
no, but that's not what we're discussing here. We're talking about what causes
Yeah,
refraction.
I get that, and why I would choose to film far distances that I shouldn't be able to see, like where Wide Awake was seeing something that was over 11 miles away from 2.5 feet high. He shouldn't be able to see that. He shouldn't. It should be impossible for him to see something on above the water 11.5 miles away from a camera height of 2.5 feet. Should be impossible. But you're saying that refraction makes that possible.
Yes.
It should be.
I'm debating that you even know what refraction is here.
59, I think it was 50 something feet of curve.
Yeah, well, that's not what's important is the percentage, the amount of degrees that the light would have to be refracted for you to be able to see that image. That's what you need to think about. Like, can you just give me your definition of what refraction is, please?
Have you seen the experiment over like?
No. I want to talk about refraction because this is a very important part.
Yes.
Could one of you give me what you think your definition of refraction is?
When light hits a different medium, like they say light doesn't curve, but you can curve light with different mediums. I've seen these experiments where the light hits different things and it can curve. And the thing is, when there's no atmosphere, when there's less atmosphere, there's less of a medium to curve to make the light do those sort of things.
What?
You should be seeing reality more realistic than what you are when there's moisture in the air, because a foggy day you can't see very far, of course, and it's not because there's curve, it's because
that's nothing to do with refraction. I mean, your explanation of what refraction there was pretty iffy. Like,
refraction is just light waves being deflected through a medium. You want me to pull up the definition of refraction for you so that you can hear it? I don't want to give
definitions are important. It's your understanding of what refraction is, and the important part of refraction is the change in the density of the medium that it is in.
You can watch those changes. That's very important to watch those changes happen.
Yeah, pay close attention to those changes.
You can see it happen throughout a given day. If you look at something far away, it'll be visible, invisible, visible, invisible. It just depends on the atmosphere, the medium you're looking through, the light source is hitting.
You're demonstrating that refraction is a thing. No one's disagreeing with that.
Just want to give a heads up. If you guys are ready to, maybe in a few minutes, like as much as 5, if you are ready to go into Q&A and.
Well, I gotta tell you guys, I actually gotta head out really soon, so we may have to wrap this up really quick.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No problem. That's totally okay. Are you okay, team, and Fight the Flat Fight, if we move into Q&A pretty quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
then that's fine with me.
You got it. Okay, we can jump into it right now. And in case you hadn't heard, folks, we are very thankful for Tony Designs as well as MathPig. So sorry about that. They've both worked on a Discord for us. So that is linked in the description. If you are on Discord, we'd love to see you there. I am excited to learn it. I'm slow, but anyway, fair enough. Here we go. Thanks for your super chat. We really appreciate it. It's from Steven Steen, you sicko. He says, how do I swipe right on this app? James is a 10 out of 10. Thank you, Steven. Gosh, the Crawdaddy 029. Thanks for your super chat. He said, we did it. You think the earth is flat. Luckily for society, the people doing work on rocketry and aircraft know that the earth is shaped like a globe.
Oh yeah, and can we just give a shout out to NASA? Honestly, right now, has everyone seen the Artemis video talking about the way they're using the gateway and everything? Because that is just like, to think that we're living in the period where there's going to be a constant kind of man presence on the moon is amazing.
You got it. Thank you very much for your super chat as well from the Crawdaddy, who said, if you want to be taken seriously that the flat earth or that the earth is flat, you better get your poop straight with your friends and show us the edge.
There is no edge. That would be great if there was an edge, but there's not one that cats can knock things off of. Otherwise, this would be debunked already. There's a firmament. It's founded on the waters. We've got footage of it. You can see it yourself.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's issues with the firmament.
Yeah, you can see it.
Gotcha.
We've got footage of it while it's still there. A lot of things are vanishing. The world record long distance photo website just went down this month. And other sites are just getting deleted. Facebook pages, things.
Yeah, but
I
there's
was
also
just on it.
Yeah,
I was just on that page.
And there's a whole bunch of websites that archive all stuff, so it's cool. Nothing's ever gone.
Hold on. I was literally just on the long distance.
Right. Well, I just need to ask this question, right? So there's a firmament that encloses the Earth, right?
Yes, the firmament.
So is gravity real? Is gravity a thing?
There's different in terms of gravity, the way we know it. Do things fall? Yes. Yeah, things. But I'm trying to find something while you're talking at the same time.
Well, I'm basically trying to say,
Does
why do we
Earth,
need
yes
a?
or no? Does
Yes.
gravity pull things to Earth? Yeah, like what? Yes.
Yes.
So does it pull the moon to the Earth?
Yes.
Then why did it stop pulling the moon to the Earth?
Because it's also going. It's missing us because of its tangential velocity.
It's pulling towards us. Why does it stop? Gravity pulls things.
It doesn't. It doesn't ever stop. The moon is in free fall towards Earth all the time, but it's also at a tangential velocity that it misses us. That is the literal definition of an orbit.
Yes.
There's no problems with that. Gravity is pulling the moon to Earth all of the time. That's why it orbits us.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So the moon's is not going to fall onto Earth because of gravity, though, right?
No, because it is moving at a tangential velocity that causes it to miss the Earth.
Okay. That's what they're telling us. That's what we're.
No, that's the literal definition of an orbit.
Yes, that's the definition that we're being told.
No, it's not what we're being told. That is what an orbit is. An orbit is when something is in free fall towards something else, but is also moving at a fast enough velocity that it keeps missing it. That is the actual definition of what an orbit is. And orbital mechanics aren't a problem. It all matches with our model. How did
the origination of this falling toward us but missing us happen?
Conservation of momentum.
How did the moon's flying at us and then all of a sudden it just starts going in circles around us? Why doesn't the moon what started that process? What makes the Earth spin? Who spun it on that stick? Why do we only see one side of the moon? Oh, it's tidally locked. They're giving us all these explanations.
Tidal lock. It's not tidal locking is not an issue. You see tidal locking in about 1/3 of the moons in the solar system.
How did an explosion start all of that? How did an explosion make some things spin around other things?
Just so we don't get onto too many other questions in addition to the Q&A, I want to give Fight a chance to answer these, and then right after that we've got a quick jump back to the questions.
The main answer that I can give you in regards to how did the Earth start spinning with the moon around it is the conservation of momentum from when the Earth was created. The natural forces of the gravity creating everything pulling towards the center created a spin. But
That's so okay.
and
That's
then,
good. I
so
didn't know.
some things maintain that velocity, and there's theories that say the moon was a result of a collision with another planetary body, that then the parts that would the result of that explosion get locked into an orbit because of them being pulled back towards Earth, and parts of those formed and then became the moon. But the momentum that they have because of all the kinetic energy is maintained because there's nothing in space to stop that.
So okay, that's cool. I didn't know
Gotcha.
you were a creationist. I'm sorry.
I'm not a
Gonna-
creationist in the
Oh, you
slightest.
said the Earth was created.
We're gonna just to be
by
sure.
gravity.
Okay,
Just
sorry.
just to be sure. Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate your answers. And Steven Steen, thanks for your super chat. He says, Fight the Flat Earth asks everyone to vote JM Truth for
That is a lie. You shut your dirty mouth.
Gotcha.
What is that?
Typical Steven. Angel Garay, thanks for your super chat. They said, can you see bacteria with your eyes?
Yes, and they get stuck in low human orbit when they try to get on us.
Gotcha. Math Pig, thanks for your super chat. They said, I appreciate that. Both, not only have they made the Discord, but now they're helping spread the word. They said, Modern Day Debate, new Discord server, and then they shared the link, which is in the description now. Thanks for that, Math Pig. Stupid Whore Energy, thanks for your super chat as well. She said, could you read some Bible verses that show the earth is flat?
Could we read some Bible verses?
I think
That show that the Earth is flat.
Well, the Bible is compared to a signet ring. It is compared to a circle, and I don't know the exact verse. I'm not good at memorizing verses, but there are verses, and I used to think circle meant globe. And when I read that, I said, "Wow, God knew this in the Bible. The Earth was a circle, but circle is not a ball. There's an actual word for that. The Bible talks about the circle of the Earth. And if you look in the book of Joshua, there's a time when the sun literally stood still in the sky. This would be absolutely impossible on the globe model. This would throw everything off.
There's no explanation for that on the flat Earth either, to be fair. But talk about the Bible. Interesting you say circle, because why does the Bible tell us that pi is 3?
Tell us that pi is 3? I'm not sure what you're talking about. What verse is that?
It talks about when I think Moses was given the instructions for building a new base for the oceans, and he says that the circumference is 30 cubits and the diameter of 10 cubits. That would make pi 3. That's a bit of a problem for reality.
Well, if it was a ball, there was 7 floodgates.
I'm going to give you a quick chance to respond, and then we got to jump back into the Q&A.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
And they wanted a verse. Isaiah 40:22 says that it is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. He's above a circle. It says, who stretches out the heavens, literally the firmaments, like a curtain, and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. So there's a verse in Isaiah, and there's lots of others about, in Psalms 104, the foundations of the earth, that it should not be moved. And you see all these things in Scripture that I used to look past that talk about, especially in the creation story, this firmament like molten looking glass. This thing is definitely solid, and he put the stars, the lights, all these things are in it, in the firmament of heaven.
Can I address that point, please?
Mhm.
There's 2 points I'd like to address in that, and I'm sorry that I've been kind of silent lately, guys. But anyway, so you would agree that a basketball is a sphere, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir.
No matter how many times you look at a basketball, you will always see it as a 2-dimensional circle. You're never going to see it as a sphere. You're always going to convince yourself that it's a sphere, but when you look at it, it's always going to be a 2-dimensional circle to you, because that's how vision works. So even if there was a God, even if he was up in the space looking down at the earth, all he's ever going to see is a circle.
Yeah, that's a good point, and you're right.
Now,
Just to,
okay,
let's just do this quick point as well from team, and then to try to circle back to, I think then we've got to go back to the pi objection, and then we've got to go back to the Q&A. But go ahead, team.
Okay. The second part I want to bring up, and this can be confirmed by the science teacher. You're aware of PV equals nRT, the ideal gas law. Is that correct?
I'm a environmental science and
Awesome. That
biology.
makes
I'm a
this
biology
point.
teacher. My specialty is biology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes this point even better. What's the relationship between pressure and temperature?
When one goes up, the other goes down.
Try again.
Can you give me a facepalm warning before
The
you?
relationship. You said the relationship between temperature and pressure. So,
Yeah,
like, if you increase the temperature,
you
what's
increase
going to
the
happen to
pressure.
pressure? The pressure is going to go up.
Yeah. So it's directly proportional.
Directly.
Okay. So why do we not see that in our atmosphere? Why do we not see a direct correlation between temperature and pressure throughout the atmosphere as we would see according to the ideal gas law?
Why do we not see a direct correlation between? Say that question again.
Yeah, let me rephrase it just a little bit more. Why do we not see a direct correlation between the atmospheric pressure and the temperature of the atmosphere, as stated by the ideal gas law, PV equals nRT?
Why do we not see a change? Why is the law broken? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, we should see the temperature increase and decrease as the atmospheric pressure increases and decreases. Why is that not the case?
Why is that?
Should be a direct relationship between the two.
So if it gets colder, it should get denser.
When it's colder, there should be lower pressure than when it's hotter.
Yeah. Why don't we see that? Like
you have to be able to you'd have to be able to measure the volume and the size and to say
the volume's fixed. The volume's fixed. The volume's fixed. I'm sorry. As a teacher, you should know that. We're in a closed container, according to your model, and therefore the volume is not a variable. It is a constant.
And you would agree that the air pressure at sea level is 14.7 psi. And that's the same wherever you are on the Earth. So it's the same if you're at the equator or if you're in the Arctic Circle. So that's an observation that the change in temperature is not a direct correlation to the change in pressure. Because if that was true, then where it's colder, you would have less atmosphere. But that's not what we see.
When you go up and the atmosphere begins to go away, doesn't it get colder as you go higher?
Yes, but there's no correlation between the pressure of the atmosphere and the temperature, as there would be according to the ideal gas law.
Gotcha. We should probably, I know that you got a response probably from the Flat Earth Brothers, but just to try to circle back slightly, if we go back to the question on pi as well, just so we don't go too far down this new question.
Yeah, so why does the Bible describe pi as being 3? Because we know
I'm not sure I'm familiar. Can you read the specific verse where they talk about pi?
Well, they don't mention pi specifically, but they talk about the ratio between the circumference and the diameter, which we know is a constant of pi, 3.1417, right?
Yeah. Right.
But according to the verse in the Bible, it describes the circumference as 30 cubits and the diameter as 10 cubits, which would make pi 3.
He was talking about the size of the ark. How does the size of the ark have anything to do with the circumference of the earth?
I'm talking about the relationship between the circumference and the diameter that he's given the instructions to. Based on the instructions that he's given, right? Let me get the bit up.
What were the dimensions? Like, was it
30
circumference of 30 and a diameter of 10, right?
Yeah.
All right. For the math teacher, could you create a circle that was 30?
Are you talking about the dimensions of the ark?
I have no idea.
He talked about an ark being 30 cubits. He talked about the dimensions being wide and long. It was a rectangle. And when you look up the word that we translate ark, it was actually box or basket. So we're talking about a rectangle here. I don't think we have.
So the verse is 1 Kings 7:23. He made the sea of cast metal circular in shape, measuring 10 cubits from rim to rim and 5 cubits high. It took a line of 30 cubits to measure around it.
First Kings, what?
7:23, and it says again. So the from rim to rim is 10 cubits and 30 cubits to measure around it. That says that a circle is 30 and 10, so pi is 3, which
Which
is not
Bible
right.
version are you reading from? Because language is important, and the language the Bible was written in, when you translate it into English, doesn't always give you the exact meaning of the original text unless you're a Hebrew expert.
Oh, so what you're saying is the Bible can be interpreted in many ways.
What I'm saying is any language can be translated into different ways depending on the language and depending on, language. Do you understand that languages don't directly translate from one to the other? Do you understand that?
Yes, I'm very aware.
Okay.
But if you're trying to
So what I'm
claim,
saying is,
if you're trying to claim that definitions and stuff in the Bible aren't exactly literal, then we can disregard anything you've ever said about the Bible, right?
no, I'm saying that the Bible can be taken literally. Yeah, there are figures of speech, and there are things obviously that are parables in the Bible, but there are things that are actually literal explanations. Not
And you
the
believe,
entire Bible.
and you believe the phrase that God was sitting above the earth with his feet on it as a footstool is not a parable? You believe that is actually fact?
And to clarify where this is from, it's from the New King James Version of the Bible, 1 Kings 7 verse 23, the sea and the oxen. And he made the sea of cast bronze, 10 cubits from one brim to the other. It was completely round. Its height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits measured its circumference. That says pi is 3.
I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to have to read this verse in a modern translation and understand the Hebrew. And
I mean, the New
is
King
it a
James
basic
Version is
estimate, or are they trying to give us an exact?
No. They said that it is 10, and they've said that it is completely round. So they are given exact measurements. So if we are to take the Bible as truth, then we have to believe that pi is 3, and reality kind of falls apart.
Not if it's an estimate. I don't understand how you're trying what you're trying to say.
At some point, it's probably good to circle back to the Q&A.
Yeah.
But anyway, my point was that you can't really take the Bible as literal because there's a lot of things.
But experience it for yourself. I mean, the Father's love is real. Miracles are real. Healing is real. I've been healed.
If that's the case, why does my younger sister have multiple sclerosis?
Because the world is full of evil people and alchemists. They're doing things for centuries.
No, it's nothing to do with that. That's purely due to her DNA and her genetics.
When the Messiah
and
came,
according to you,
was
there's only
doing
one
these
person
miracles.
that caused that. So why the fuck does my little sister have multiple sclerosis?
Now,
That's not very nice.
There is a real war
so-
going on
We're
around
fucking
it. Our
love there.
God is the God of
Okay.
hosts.
hey, let me,
The God of
can
the
I,
armies. There's a war. There's an adversary. There's a deceiver. The Messiah wasn't undoing his Father's work when he raised the dead and the sick were being healed. And that stuff.
That's nothing to do with the question. You're saying that Father's love is real, whereas I don't really experience this
You
all-encompassing
can
love.
experience it. We don't deserve it. I'm telling you.
Cool. I'll experience it once he takes away my younger sister's multiple sclerosis.
That's
Okay.
that.
When
Is
he's-
always
when he's at
trust. It's possible. I'm telling
okay.
When
you.
he's at it, why
So,
doesn't he take away the
hey
multiple-
guys, we're getting emotional. Let's get back to facts.
The Father
Okay.
loves your little sister, man. He loves you. That's
Cool.
just the truth.
Then he can take
That's-
away
He's been lied to about who he is as well.
Well, if he loves her, he can take away the multiple sclerosis, and
can.
that'll be good.
He
Of
can't.
course he can. He's God.
We'll jump.
Yes.
We'll jump back into the Q&A if that's possible, or okay with you guys. Bella Charge, thanks for your super chat. She said, "Give me indisputable proof that God exists. That isn't words from the Bible. You ask for proof of everything, but don't hold the same standards to God."
Thank you. Thank you. Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is kind of one of those things we're always told is when I was a kid, I always said, "Why do you believe in God?" And they'd say, "You just have to believe it on faith." And I go to churches and they hand you a Bible and say, "Read this." And I say, "Why to believe it?" And I was always told, "Just believe it on faith." And to me, that is a misconception. And what I've learned is when I started trying to be skeptical, and when I became a believer in God, I didn't come to God and say, "God, if you're Christianity, whatever." I didn't come to God through religion. I was a very skeptical person. I didn't know who God was, if he was real. I was laying in a room. I wasn't in church. I was by myself. And I said, "God, if you are the creator of the universe, because there are people who believe that. And I said, God, if you are the creator of the heavens and the earth, you're the God of the universe, reveal yourself to me, whoever you are. I'm ready to be wrong. Erase every lie that I have ever received. Erase any lie from my mind, because I've heard so many things about God through Christianity. But what if I was born into the wrong country? What if I was born into the wrong religion? I opened myself up and I said, God, whoever you are, show yourself to me. And God will find you. Whoever calls on the name of God, he will find you wherever you're at, whatever you're ready for. And this God opened my eyes to something I could have never discovered from church. I was taught that God was judgmental, that God hated sinners, that God was good and God was bad. And when somebody was sick, it was his will. When somebody's kid got cancer, it was God's will and God had a plan for it. That's what I was taught about God.
Forgive
the
me,
God that I encountered was different.
Cool story,
Just-
bro. But do you know the some of the wisest words I've ever heard are, it's not the circumstances of your birth that are important, but the what you do with the gift of life. And
Yeah.
those are some of the wisest words I've ever heard. Do you know where that's from?
I have not heard that before.
The first Pokemon movie. Who gives a fuck what the Bible says?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's that, and I appreciate your perspective on that. And God revealed Himself to me as a God of love and a God of healing. And I can tell you that I've seen these miracles and I've seen these healings, but that's not proof to you. When people say, "How do you know the Bible's true?" That's the big question. How do we know it's true? It describes the earth. It describes these things. How do we know it's true? If you understand the timeline of Earth and the timeline of recorded human history, how far it goes back, recorded human events. There are, the Dead Sea Scrolls discovered books in the Bible that were 3,000 years old that were preserved. There's something called historically verifiable prophecies.
Just to forgive me, I
And-
hate to try to ask it to be short and pithy, just so we
Okay.
can not have too much, just to try to keep going.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'll cut this short. There were, King Cyrus, he was prophesied about that he would rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. We know when that prophecy was written, and we know that a king literally by that name, hundreds of years later, rebuilt that temple in Jerusalem. Psalm 22, we know historically that it was written over 3,000 years ago from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it predicts, if you read Psalm 22, watch our video on this, Psalm 22 predicts very vividly a crucifixion of Jesus, saying they'd pierce his hands and his feet. And they weren't even practicing that crucifixion method in Rome. They weren't practicing it anywhere. It was developed later, but it was prophesied in Psalm 22. Read that Psalm. It talks about the bulls of Bashan encircle me. Bashan is the place where King Herod had rulership of. This is real. These prophecies were fulfilled from 3,000 years ago. They were fulfilled almost, hundreds and hundreds of centuries, or centuries later. They were fulfilled.
Okay, we've got to just go back. Forgive me, just to try to keep it short and pithy, because it's the Q&A. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
hold on. I would like to really just address one point you said, which is a point you get a lot from flat earthers and people who are also religious. I'm not going to use the word like zealots, or even fundamentalists, but people that are very religious. You say that you called out to God, that you had to ask for Him to come to you, and whatever the case may be. You could never get away with that as evidence in court. You understand? Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't
So I
start,
don't
you
try
can't
to-
start with what somebody told you and then go and then work your way to find out that what they said was right. You can't say, they say, well, this is what you got to do. And then you go out and do it and go, oh my God, look at that. I just had an experience. I've called Jesus to me right here, right now. That's nothing. That's putting an idea in your head that's making you look for the idea that they've given you. How come people that aren't aware of the Christian God or the Muslim God or any other God, how come God doesn't come to them? How come God doesn't show them that there's a God that exists? Why is it always a based religion, a formed religion that always has a narrative or a preconceived conclusion? That has that the entire religion is based on proving that conclusion right, not telling people how to find the conclusion for themselves, but just saying, this is the end, this is what's real, this is the truth, and ye shall believe it.
I mean, yeah. Paul was putting Christians in prison. He was not looking for God. He was going after them. He was working for those powers. It's not something you're necessarily looking for when you find it. When I was about to want to end my life and thought that God was punishing me, and that's how He operated, and I thought that's the kind of God He was, when He healed me in the blink of an eye and filled me with the Holy Spirit and did all these things and showed me why I was hurting in the first place, then that proved to me that He wasn't who I thought He was. You know, I wasn't expecting that prodigal son return. I was expecting you screwed up, you're going to die, you deserve to die. That's what I thought was going to happen, but that's not what I experienced at all. That's what the mainstream told me, that I deserved what I was getting, and I did. I made some stupid mistakes, but that's not how the father works. It's a father-son relationship. If you love your children, you don't design rules like, hey, look both ways, so that you can punish them when they screw up. You do that so they don't die.
We've got
And
a. I
that's
hate to interrupt, but just to try to keep moving through, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. We got another one from Stupid Whore Energy. Thanks for your question. She said, how do you know that the first video you showed, I think this is for the Flat Earth Brothers, as space was presented as real footage, and by whom?
It was from the British Faith. That's a good question. And they say the footage was taken of the stars was taken from the capsule. That's the organization that put that out. And they put it out before internet. Of course, now they have archived their footage on YouTube. But it says that footage was from the capsule with Joe Kittinger, and I don't know the other guy's name. But that
Gotcha.
was the stars from space.
Appreciate it. Next up,
Where you could
thanks.
see that, yeah.
Thanks for your super chat, David Shipley. They said the key to debating is understanding the opposition's argument. Could each side give their idea of the other side's best argument and then debunk it in the shortest way possible? I added that last part.
Yeah. So if the Earth is enclosed by a firmament, then the definition of gas pressure is that it has a uniform density. This is not the case. There is a gas pressure gradient indicating that there is a force pulling down on the molecules of the atmosphere. And if you actually do the maths out and figure it out, then you can, based on that attraction, figure out that the Earth is a globe, because there's only one shape that gravitational attraction allows the Earth to be.
Gotcha. And then
So air pressure is what that's based on. The Earth, the firmament is the biggest structure we have in existence, and so we're not some Coke bottle or anything like that. There's going to be pressures. There's laws with water defined, going up into the air, trillions of pounds of water going up to the air and falling. All these things happen in a perfect cycle. Everything it was designed like you and I to have this perfect cycle to keep everything going. The oceans stay clean when meanwhile I can't even keep my swimming pool from, when I used to have one, from turning green. It's masterful design. The only time we can see microscopic stuff like beyond
just to be sure I understand, forgive me, I don't mean to interrupt. Just to be sure that I for sure understand, like, that you're citing the strongest argument from Fight the Flat Earth and TeamSkeptic, right?
I'm just responding to what he was saying about air pressures and
okay. Just
the fact that there's a gradient that means we're on a globe.
Okay.
In a vacuum.
But just if you're able to just to kind of keep us moving through, so we can try to get through as many of these as possible. Okay. If you want to share their strongest argument.
Okay. Their strongest argument, I don't know what that would be off the top of my head. Their strongest argument would be that you can't, all the observations we see align with the curve, but that's not true. We see way further than we should at low levels. When you go higher, you can see, of course, we've seen beyond miles of curve. I mean, I don't see how that's even a thing.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. And
yeah, can I do just one on theirs?
Yes.
That I didn't get to. Okay. Let me go back and look at it. Oh, the continents changing sizes. That's very, very easily explained. Again, if you take a basketball and you draw a circle on the basketball and you bring your eye really close to the basketball, you're not going to see the edges of the basketball. You're actually going to see a portion where the basketball begins to curve away from the point at which you can see your line of sight. It will still look like a circle, but it just will not cover the entire basketball. And when you get that close up, that circle that's in the middle of that you're looking at, the little shape you draw, will be a lot bigger and will take up more area in relation to what you assume would be what you would think was the edge of the circle, when it's not really the edge of the circle. So if you get a camera closer to the Earth and you take a picture with a like a wider lens, for instance, you're going to end up getting a United States that looks like it takes up 1/3 of the entire hemisphere of the Earth that you're looking at, but you're not looking at a full hemisphere. You're only looking at about 60% of a hemisphere, 60 to 70% of a hemisphere.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Andrew Stoll, thanks for your question. They said, how can someone claim to be a math teacher and not understand the Earth moving through space? This guy better not be, quote unquote, teaching my nephews.
I'm sorry, if you're a math teacher, well, I teach math. I teach Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, actually. And it has nothing to do with this theory that the Earth is moving through space. I don't know how those two could be. None of our standards talk about the Earth moving through space at all.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks for your super chat, Andrew Stoll.
I think you're missing the point there. What
Yeah.
the point is saying is that, okay, for instance, if let's say I wanted to prove that Newton was wrong about F equals ma, right? How would I be able to prove that wrong without using math? Or right? How would I be able to prove it wrong or right without using math?
You
So
need
that's
math
what-
to prove things.
That's the point right there. So when they're asking
and that's
about,
that's what I'm encouraging us all to do. Let's prove these things.
Well, proofs
they're
only
saying-
exist in mathematics, don't they?
yes, that's kind of what he's saying, is that like as a math teacher, as someone who's teaching math, there are things that you are saying that like just don't jive mathematically. You know, like the science guy who says that he understands PV equals nRT, but then doesn't understand that as the Earth got cooler, like a portion got cooler, you would actually see a significant rise in the, or I guess, decrease in the pressure. And we don't see that. We don't see a decrease in pressure based on.
I'm not an
decrease
expert in
temperature.
the pressure changes and how, does
Right,
it
right.
change
But you
at all?
understand
how
PV
much
equals
would we see?
nRT.
I can't really testify to. I'm just a layman in terms of pressure changes and things like that. Even my brother being a science teacher, we'd have to really look into that to say, oh, what you're saying is true, what we're saying is false. There's so much pseudoscience going on out there. It's
Well, okay. As a math teacher, if I say, I'm trying to think of a good way of doing it. Well, even we just using PV equals nRT, we know that V is a constant. Okay, we know that NR is a constant. It's basically the number of molecules we're working with. So now we've got T and P, and that's it. And there's a direct relationship between T and P. A science teacher should know that. A math teacher should know that. Both of you guys have no excuse if you say I don't understand that
yeah,
concept.
that's not the argument here.
Well, the argument would be then
are we in a
then
field
apply
of pressure?
then apply that to real world then.
I mean,
So
it's like
if
saying moonlight's colder than moon shade. That proves the Earth is, you know what I mean? Like,
But it's not though.
it is. It's provable.
No, it's really not. I mean,
it really is. Actually,
no, it really isn't, because there's a thing called radiative cooling, and it's been proven by Sean Hufford recently with a thermal camera.
Yeah,
that he literally used it to prove that the moonlight is not colder. In fact, it was a couple of degrees warmer.
Thermometers of any kind can prove this.
It's such a basic debunk, and it
really.
really is, because radiative cooling is the answer you are looking for.
Cold light, warmer in the shade. Cold light, warm. It's not hard to.
It's radiative cooling. The light is not colder because you cannot have reverse entropy.
If you place an object in moonlight, that object becomes colder than the object in the moon shade.
Yes, because of radiative cooling. Do you know what that is?
Because it's in the moonlight, it's colder than
No.
stuff.
Do you know what radiative cooling is?
Radiative cooling.
Yes.
I'm not an expert on radiative cooling.
Well, before you make a stupid claim like moonlight is cold, actually do a little bit of research. No. What I know is that you have not done any research on that at all, because if you did, then you would know that is because of radiative cooling. If you have an object that is in the shade, it does not have as much opportunity to radiate the heat energy that it has, meaning that in the moonlight, where there is no shade blocking it, there is more thermal energy released, meaning the thing in the moonlight will be colder than the thing in the moon shade. Radiative cooling, basic physics, thermodynamics.
With sunlight, it's
Thanks.
warmer.
We gotta
in
get through
sunlight.
more questions. So forgive me. I know you guys have a response, Flat Earth Brothers, but just to get through these, I know that it's going to be a challenge in some cases. That if it's okay to like, as we ask them, we might not be able to do rebuttals to each answer, maybe. But Bella Charge, thanks for your question. She said you don't believe in gravity, so can you explain why rivers get deeper over time?
Rivers get deep. Erosion. They have a lot of water. I mean, rivers are flowing, and erosion is soil from the bottom's always moving. They're always going to get deep. If you put a water hose on the ground, it's going to knock away some of the soil. I just had my yard leveled out, and it's rained, and we don't have grass yet, so a lot of it's washed away.
Just to keep it short and pithy. Sorry about that. If you guys want to
Can I ask a question about that?
You bet, as long as you can try to keep it short and pithy.
Yes. If you pick that water hose up off the ground, why does the water go towards the ground and not just continue on in a straight line at a constant velocity?
Because it has weight.
Weight implies an acceleration.
But it will eventually go up, though. Eventually it'll go up.
Hold on.
But eventually it'll fly right up into the air.
Was that the math guy or the science guy that said because it has weight?
It was the science guy.
It's density.
The science guy. Okay, hold on. The science guy.
Did you just say density?
Hold on. Hold on. So when you have density, right, or when you have an object, okay, and you say that it has weight, how do you calculate its weight?
How do you calculate its weight?
Uh-huh.
So if we can do this like a, let's see.
Weight equals mass times
begins with
gravity.
G.
Gravity. You can't imply weight without implying acceleration. If you have nothing acting on the object to accelerate it to the ground, you're going to have to come up with a reason why it's not traveling away in a straight line at a constant velocity. If you say it's weight, well, I'll agree with you on that because gravity exists and there's mass to the water.
There's no denying that some things fall and some things float, but to say to take
Helium balloons keep float. I mean, it's.
Oh my God, no! You're not a teacher.
Gotcha. Okay, so sorry guys. It's like we gotta kind of keep moving through these. So I'm getting pushback in the live chat. So if we can try to get through as many questions from people as possible. Thanks for your question, Andrew Stoll. They said whatever college these two went to should be discredited.
Okay.
Stupid horror energy. You can respond if you want, but you don't have to. Stupid horror energy. Thanks for your super chat. She says Pizzazu says everyone on the globe knows the Earth is flat. Thanks for that. Stupid horror energy also says, why doesn't the angular size of the sun change if it is small and local?
It does.
It doesn't.
Gotcha. Okay. Stupid horror energy also says, question for Flat Earth Brothers, are you crazy? Gotcha. No doubt. Thanks for your super chat. They said, twin stupidity, shaking my head. Flat Earth Brothers, you can respond if you want to. You don't have to.
Nope. No response.
Is there any questions that are not just insults?
Gotcha.
Thank you guys for hosting us. It's been real. Check out our channel. Check out our Grace and Truth channel. We've got some really good. If you're interested in finding out proof for God, go to our channel, Grace and Truth Fellowship. Check out some of those videos, and we love the idea of testing and proving all things, and I really appreciate the time that you guys have taken to actually speak with us, and I really do. I hope and pray that everyone is really seriously trying to prove these things for themselves and not going to Google and Wikipedia and NASA to try and prove these things. Let's prove them for ourselves. Let's go look for ourselves.
Cool. You just go and build a rocket and go to space. No worries.
I want to say also thank you for coming on, because I know that the rest of the super chats are probably not going to be too friendly to you. So I don't blame you for stepping away when you need to. And that's fine. I'm not doing this as a way to make you look bad or anything. I'm just saying.
No,
thank you.
I appreciate that. And honestly, it's not easy being in our perspective. I'm not very open with this to anyone. There's people I love and I care about. I want to share this with, but it is one of the most ridiculed probably topics in the entire world. and I expect that. I expect people to have a knee-jerk reaction. I had a knee-jerk reaction. I didn't just. I was into the globe model for 33 years. I was a huge fan of space. I was a huge fan of all this stuff, and for me to rip the Band-Aid off and look into it and say, what if it was a lie? That's hard to do, and I don't expect anyone to be able to just do that. It takes a special kind of person, someone who is crazy, so to speak, to question 9/11 and to question these things. Why does, it doesn't. It's not everybody can do that.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. If you guys have to go, totally okay. I don't know if I had warned you that yet we read like virtually every super chat, some of which are, aggressive. And so,
well, that's fine. I just apologize. I have to leave. I have to head out. I'm not actually at home right now. I have to head out.
Well, hey man, happy holidays.
Yeah.
Thanks guys for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm losing my voice. Sorry. But yeah, I appreciate it. I would like to have, formal discussions and stuff like that anytime, but.
Cool. Well, we can get you back on my channel sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Thanks guys for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you guys can proceed along. I'm not just gonna. I have to actually head out though as we speak.
You got it.
Take it easy.
Take care. Merry Christmas.
All right. Love you guys.
Take care. Love you too. We have a number of questions yet. We can try to fly through these. Let's see. The ones that are like just kind of straight up insults, like given that they can't even respond to it because they had to go because it has been 3 hours and 20 minutes, I might skip those. If there's like a question that you want to ask that you're like, hey, this would be something I really want to hear from them, and maybe if they hear it later, they can like leave a response in the comments or something like that. Mr. Unite for the Children, thanks for your question. They asked, do the Flat Earth Brothers still teach the standard model? And they said, if so, why do they teach children what they quote unquote know are lies? Isn't that harmful? Let's see. Andrew Stoll, thanks for your super chat. They said, for the so-called math teacher, what are the angles of a triangle with sides 1, 1, and 1? Is 1 times 10 to the negative 17th a negative number? Next up, thanks for your super chat, Carrie Oliver. They said, okay, you guys are just showing off now. He's smoked. Let's see. Oshkosh Josh, thanks for your super chat. They said, did the Flat Earth Brothers use a neutral density solar filter? I have to ask them that if we ever have them back. Macabre Maleficia, thanks for your super chat. Let's see. I want to make sure they had said these are in a row. I want to make sure I get them right. They said, you two are teachers. Let's see. It's like, they said, how could you so misunderstand basic orbital mechanics? I learned that when I was 15 years old, and I went to Catholic school. Gotcha. Thanks for that. Next up. And some of these you could say, what's the word? Like
paraphrasing?
Yeah, you could say that. And there are a couple of reasons. One is to try to move in a more family-friendly direction. Some of these are quite frank. And also, because like I said, they're not here, and so it's like, try to get to the more substance of the comments or questions. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat. Team or Fight the Flat Earth, could you please explain to these flat earthers why everything disappears bottom first over the horizon?
Because there's a horizon.
Yeah, because there's a horizon.
Yeah, there's a physical fucking obstruction.
Because you don't go over the horizon head first. If you do, you'll disappear head first.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Next up, we appreciate your super chat.
If you're a flat earther out there, don't try that. I was just saying that. Gotta throw that fucking warning out there, just in case.
Thank you. Angel Garay, thanks for your super chat. They said, a sphere is round in every direction. A plate, no. Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your question. She said, how did the Flat Earth Brothers derive pi? We're almost to the... Go ahead.
I don't think they understood the point that the Bible says pi is 3. I don't... That guy's not a math teacher. Sorry.
Gotcha. Bella Charge, thanks for your super chat. She said, so no indisputable proof, just words from a book. Next up, thanks for your super chat. Michael Dresden. Fight the Flat Earth. Would you debate IP on evidence for God? I think they mean inspiring philosophy.
No, they don't mean that like kung fu guy from the movies. That would be harsh. Right. So yeah, I think I would. Why not?
Gotcha. And then Patreon question. Thanks, Brian Stevens, for your support. They said, to the math teacher, what is the derivative of x squared?
Yeah, he couldn't have answered that.
Thanks for your question, Chef Allen. We'll do maybe a few of these. And so sorry, folks, there's been a lot of questions, so we might not get to all of them. They said, ask Fight the Flat Earth, does Flat Earth have an equator?
No, because the equator is the middle of a ball.
Gotcha. Let's see. Thanks so much for your question.
Are you not going to ask us if we know the answer to these questions? Like the derivative of x squared?
Oh, yeah. Actually, if you would like to answer, feel free. Yeah.
It's 2x.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're not giving us an opportunity. You're just the flat earthers have gone. It's like, oh, let's just read the questions.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding, James. I'm giving you a hard time, James. You got to pick on the moderator a little bit, you know.
It's good. I actually, to be honest, I didn't know that, so I'm glad you did say it because I haven't really studied that kind of math in a long time, but I don't know if I've ever learned that, to be honest, though. Next up, thanks. Okay, Bella Charge says, FYI, I'm not a girl. I'm a guy. Sorry about that, Bella.
Did you hear me say that when you said, she says, and I go, he.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. I appreciate you letting me know that. And let's see, trying to catch up with Neilio, thanks for your question. They said, ask TeamSkeptic to whistle.
Do you really want me to try? I mean, I'll try.
Hey, James, do you want to see the face he makes when he does
Don't
that?
fucking show that picture, guy.
I desperately do.
Oh,
James,
God.
I reside in I'm a protected group in this world, right? My what I identify as a non-whistler. I try to whistle, but I just can't do it. So that's the face I'm gonna make right now. Okay, here's the sound.
He's been practicing so hard.
Hey, I'm getting good. Y'all are hearing this. I'm getting good at this. They told me kissy face breathe in earlier. That doesn't work.
That's excellent. Well, not too shabby. Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Come a long way.
That's excellent.
I have come a long way. You have no idea. I'm 300% times better. Not that even makes sense to be 300 times better than anything, but I'm 300% times better at whistling than I was a month and a half ago when my fans started helping me. By ridiculing me incessantly.
That's a special thing. I liked it. It was a terrific whistle. And
James, I'm being whistle shamed. That is the basic definition of what's going on. I'm being whistle shamed.
I thought it was, someone said that you should have seen my face when I heard your whistle. I was impressed. It was terrific. Okay, next one. Let's see. Stupid Horror Energy, thanks for your, let's see, question. She's like a sassy one. We're going to ignore her. This is her punishment. But thanks for your Destroying Angel, your question. They asked, at what point in the time was NASA ever obligated to pander to the Flat Earth community?
Never. They don't care what a bunch of crazy people think. They just want to get Artemis working and send people to the moon and then to Mars with the space launch system.
Gotcha. You got it. And just maybe one more. Unexpected Caveman, thanks for your question. They said, can you ask the Flat Earth brothers, well, we can ask you guys this, whether 10 to the negative 17th is a negative number?
Well, it's a positive number, but it represents a negative number.
You know what I should have asked him? I should have asked him define numbers without using anything based on numbers. on quantity, amount, number, count, anything like that. I would have loved to heard their explanation without using circular reasoning.
That is wild. Well, hopefully we can get him back on. It was a wild one. I actually thought it was like the super chats were some of them were a little aggressive, but overall it was like you guys got along really well. We've seen much worse. The duel with Wotan was much more aggressive. So you guys are pretty calm tonight.
Yeah, season, it's feeling that Christmas love. And I just want to say thank you for having us on, and Merry Christmas to you and everyone watching. I hope that wherever you are, if you're a flat earther or not, that you're having a decent Christmas.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
And I'm just gonna whistle a Christmas tune for everybody. We'll do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, okay? We're just gonna do a small portion, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it in the Christmas spirit. Let me think how it goes. All right.
I like that.
I can't breathe.
Yes, you have been treated to an amazing display of musical art by TeamSkeptic. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer just whistled.
It was terrific. Thank you. I liked it a lot.
A bunch of dogs everywhere just screaming.
Yeah, I see that dog.
That was excellent. Thank you guys. With that, want to say thanks everybody for being here. Their links are in the description. So Fight the Flat Earth, as well as TeamSkeptic's links, and the Flat Earth Brothers, all of their links are in the description, so you can check those out. And hopefully this is like the first step for you. If this is your first time with Flat Earth stuff, you have plenty of links through these guys in the description on how this can be kind of the first step. And so we appreciate you guys being on here, team and Fight. And we're very excited. This has been a blast. So thanks everybody for being here.
Just shout out our other channel. Team and I have another channel that we do with Sean Hufford called Science or Satire. And that's where starting very soon we're going to be doing all our live streams that we do together. So check out the channel Science or Satire as well.
You bet. Absolutely. So with that, thanks for being here, everybody. It's been a true pleasure. We hope you have a good night. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Take care, everybody.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
That was